just checked in on the live stream. We've got a few people in there already too.
Okay. How was it? Technology was working yesterday and today, working fine? Like no issues with it?
Amazingly well. We did have our first speaker wasn't able to get his slides up, but that was the extent of it. And we had quite there was a large number on. So it's, I mean, we did a lot of testing, and you always hope that it'll work the same way, but you just never know what it's going to do the day of.
Yeah. It's always I found the irony of people who work in the cyber field. When stuff goes wrong, it seems to go wrong to them more than anybody else.
Yeah, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And we're going to get started in a few minutes, but if I don't get, because I know we'll be moving on, and if you guys are logging off, just take this time to say thank you so much for making the time to join us for this.
Our
It's
pleasure.
absolutely great. Yeah, no, absolutely great for to have you.
Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, depending on where you are in the country. Welcome to day 2 of CyberTitan 3. Today is our virtual summit. We will hear from experts in the field who also happen to be our partners and supporters. We're thrilled with yesterday's competition. Everything went off without a hitch, and the entire day I spent on the Discord channel watching all the teams talk, and it was fantastic. Octopi and I were incredibly impressed by the skills and professionalism of all students. And with congratulations to all competitors. Results will be tomorrow, so that is exciting. To kick us off, I would like to now introduce Diana Barbosa, the Director of Education and Standards for K-12 at ICPC.
Hello, everybody joining us today. Thank you so much, Sheena, and I just want to echo again what Sheena said. Also on the Discord channel, blown away by the level of professionalism showed by everybody yesterday, and definitely, although eagerly awaiting those results tomorrow, I really could not be more proud of the teams and coaches and everybody who's made this happen. So thank you. With that, we do have a series of guests today. Thank you for them for joining us. We are going to start with Deputy Commissioner Stephen White, who's responsible for specialized policing services, a broad range of critical services that include the Canadian Firearms Program, the Canadian Police College, Criminal Intelligence Service Canada, the IMIT Program, Forensic Science and Identification Services, and Technical Operations. His responsibilities include stewardship for National Police Services, a suite of scientific, technological, and police educational programs that support the broader Canadian law enforcement community. With that, I will direct everybody. We did send full bios ahead of time. Everybody joining us couldn't fit all their expertise into one slide. So definitely for more information on our speakers, refer to the slides that were sent out the day before. And with that, I will pass it over to Deputy Commissioner White. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you very, very much, and good afternoon, everyone. Bonjour, bon après-midi, et merci à tous d'être ici aujourd'hui. It is my pleasure to be here. C'est un grand plaisir d'être ici. I prefer to speak to you in person today, however, it has to be virtually, but considering the type of event we're having, actually virtual is probably very appropriate. But it's okay because in person or virtually, I have the wonderful pleasure today of taking part in celebrating the winning CyberTitan teams of the 2020 CyberTitan competition. I would like to extend a very big, immense, enormous, and tremendous congratulations to the winning teams and to all the students who qualified and competed in this year's national championship. Félicitations à tous. Well done, and what a wonderful accomplishment. We are all so very proud of all of you. It is always exciting and inspiring for me when I get to join events like this one that feature amazing young people. It is an honor to get to see firsthand the incredible innovation and creativity that you are bringing to enhancing cybersecurity. I can tell you truly that I look to all of you as the future leaders of your generation who will help us master this digital age, because we need a lot of you to help us master this. In DRCMP, as was just mentioned, I am the Deputy Commissioner responsible for specialized policing services. Some of those were just listed out, and I'm very fortunate actually to be overseeing this portfolio, a suite of very, very unique services, everything from national support and coordination of cybercrime, which is going to be the focus today, to forensic DNA labs, to our aircraft, to identification, and really looking forward to the future in terms of all of our technological capabilities that we research and develop to support our operations and investigations out in the field. So very exciting portfolio, and very happy to be a part of it. And of course, one of the leading services and activities that we're proud to have in our portfolio is National Cybercrime Support and Coordination. I was asked to say a few words today before my RCMP colleagues, Chris Lyman, Director General of the newly established National Cybercrime Coordination Unit, and Sergeant Henry Siglar, Cybercrime Investigator and Advanced Computer Forensic Advisor at the National Cybercrime Coordination Unit. we're going to speak to you about some of the exciting work our cyber team is doing to fight cybercrime. Chris and Henry are individuals who are leading the way in protecting all of us from cybercrime and doing some amazing work so all of us and all Canadians can exist safely in an ever-increasing world of technology. As you know, the digital age means virtually every dimension of how we live our lives has become dependent on information technologies. So have most of the critical infrastructure systems, which underpin our economy and our society. In addition, as the online population increases by hundreds of millions each year, a greater range of cyber criminals are evolving, and they are becoming much more sophisticated. Just as technology has become a force multiplier for most of the general public who use it for good, it has increasingly become a significant force multiplier for all sorts of cybercrime. At the same time, cybercrimes have also become much more pervasive, with a far wider variety of victims. The degree to which we are interconnected and networked adds huge value to our quality of life, but it also compounds our vulnerability. How interconnected are we? Well, there are 5.1 billion mobile users in the world today, up 100 million in the past year. There are 4.39 billion internet users, an increase of 366 million in the past year. There are 3.48 billion social media users, with the worldwide total growing by 288 million since last year, and 3.26 billion people are using social media on their mobile devices. Again, a growth of 297 million new users since last year. Wow, what a picture that paints. Bottom line is that technology has advanced by leaps and bounds, and it's changed the way we live every day, and it's changed how police officers do just about everything. Police didn't even have computers available at their stations, much less in their cars, before the millennium. Today, from drones in the sky, advanced biometrics, and probably very soon, police robots on patrol, technological advancements abound for policing. However, at the same time, cybercrime tools and capabilities are no longer limited to the technically elite. In fact, the barriers to entry for a non-sophisticated criminal actor have never been lower. Some of the criminal activities are relatively new, highly technical, and center on exploiting the technology itself. Malware, criminal botnet operations, hacking, and ransomware would fall into this cyber as target category. At the RCMP, we take these threats very seriously, as they have a significant impact on Canadians, on our businesses, our critical infrastructure, and our economic interests. Other crimes, often targeting the most vulnerable, are amplified in cyberspace, such as online child exploitation, fraud, and identity theft. These crimes can be described as the cyber as instrument category. To keep up with the technological progress, at the RCMP, our policing efforts must be agile, continually innovating, of course, and adapting to an extremely dynamic environment. With the speed at which technology has evolved, we learned pretty quickly as an organization that traditional policing models needed to change to tackle the changing nature of crime. We were trying to use a policing model that was no longer aligned with the problem. It was dated and incomplete when dealing with cyber. We were grappling with questions such as, how do the traditional policing models, when the individuals we are investigating operate in multiple locations worldwide, when they can impact thousands of victims globally with one keystroke, and when they can do so with near complete anonymity online, where potential evidence can be automatically deleted before we even have a chance to lawfully obtain it. Add to this the next generation network, 5G, which I know you're all aware of and probably watching very closely, and the speed at which cyber criminals can carry out their cyber activities becomes nearly 100 times faster than today with 4G. So I know a lot of you are probably anxious for 5G because you'll probably be able to download a 2-hour movie in about 10 seconds, but other people are anxiously waiting for 5G for other reasons as well. It quickly became clear that we needed an increased enforcement capacity to ensure that Canada can follow through on its responsibility to investigate and pursue criminals operating in the cyber domain. To increase our capabilities, we needed to address some key challenges, which included the lack of a single public cybercrime reporting mechanism here in Canada, the absence of a dedicated unit to triage and coordinate efforts to address the multi-jurisdictional challenge of cybercrime amongst Canadian police services, and the lack of a dedicated team and expertise for cybercrime. In 2019, to address these challenges, the RCMP created the National Cybercrime Coordination Unit, known as the NC3. The NC3 works to identify major cybercrime threats, develop actionable intelligence, and coordinate investigations with police services across Canada and internationally. In April, the NC3 achieved initial operational capability, which means that it is actively working with partner police services across Canada to coordinate investigations, raise awareness to the public, and notify Canadian victims. We expect that the NC3 will reach full operational capacity in 2023. And this new and very unique unit here in Canada, you have two of their leaders here today, Chris and Henry, and they're going to be able to tell you a lot more about that in the moments ahead. Today, cyber offenders have the power to disrupt their investigative measures. Online pseudonyms, encryption, anonymity tools can make it painstakingly difficult to track that IP address, to find the suspect, and to go down a traditional criminal justice path. What is useful to Canadians for legitimate purposes, such as end-to-end encryption and online anonymity, is also valued by individuals who want to evade detection, protect illicit activities. Actually, it is the ever-evolving technology that is at the forefront of our challenges that allows some cyber offenders to go unchecked. Encryption and Tor are trademarks of cybercrime. When products evolve in the marketplace that will prevent a locked device from being opened, our challenges increase considerably. Evolving technologies and digital tools are making it easier for them to do their illegal activity with impunity, sometimes without detection, but we're working hard to detect that in most cases. Because of this, the stakes are higher than ever, and the task before us more urgent than ever. This exemplifies the need to work together to prevent cybercrime, enhance cybersecurity, and also to provide cyber investigative solutions for the future. Today and in the years to come, the realities of policing in a digital world and carrying out complex, multi-jurisdictional international cybercrime investigations will require extreme levels of collaboration, and more than ever, partnerships are and will be critical to our success in this area. Firstly, we need to work together with a multitude of industry partners, ideally to stay ahead of, or at least to keep pace with cybersecurity threats, and to adapt to changing technologies and their consequences, both expected and unexpected. As the national police force, we know that for cybercrime, it's not always about the traditional police officer with a badge. We are integrating traditional enforcement measures with areas of cyber specialization. This is a cultural shift for us, and it extends to improving our capabilities, mainstreaming and demystifying cyber by pushing certain skills to the front lines of policing, building areas of specialization, working more closely with our partners, and most importantly, establishing new partnerships. We are building a workforce with the digital skills to help us achieve this, and we are acquiring the tools and systems that can handle large volumes of digital evidence generated by cybercrime investigations. In order to maintain our progress, we need a workforce with the right digital skills to lead our efforts in this space. The RCMP has made it a priority to increase our cyber workforce in areas such as investigation, intelligence gathering, and training. In the future, we are looking for individuals like you with expertise in cybersecurity and emerging technologies to join us. People who are passionate about the cyber world, who are committed to protecting it, and are willing to dedicate themselves to protecting Canadians who now live and exist in a cyber world. If you decide to pursue a career in the cyber domain, know that there are many exciting opportunities in law enforcement. You will hear more on this subject from my colleagues, Chris and Henry. Félicitations encore. Again, congratulations to all of you on a very successful CyberTitan competition. And thank you for being the cyber leaders of the future. We really, really need you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy Commissioner. Next up will be, sorry, I'm having issues here. I can't see anything. Next up, we are going to have two more speakers from the RCMP. And don't have you in front of me. There you go. Chris Lemon is up first. He's currently the Director General of the new National Cybercrime Coordination Unit with the RCMP. He led extensive work and consultations with other government departments, law enforcement partners across Canada and the private sector to conceptualize and design a national cybercrime coordination mechanism for Canada. Outside the RCMP, he's a member of the Army Reserve and served as Lieutenant Colonel commanding of the Governor General's Foot Guards, an infantry regiment based in Ottawa. Along with him, we've got Henry St. Fleur, and he joined the RCMP back in 1999 and has more than 15 years of experience in various criminal investigations. I will pass it over to them, Henry and Chris.
Hello, just want to make sure folks can hear me. And can they see the slide?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for this great opportunity. As Deputy White mentioned, it's a great honor to be part of the CyberTitan experience this year. And what Henry and I are going to do, we're going to tell you a little bit about the National Cybercrime Coordination Unit and that workforce of the future that we need in law enforcement and in other areas of cybersecurity to really tackle and address and go after the cyber criminals that are victimizing Canadians and people in other countries to a great extent. So I'm going to speak about that. I'm going to come at it from what the impact is in Canada and how cyber criminals operate, and how we at the RCMP and the NC3 are helping to address that. Okay, so cybercrime in Canada. If folks didn't know this, Canadians, we are the most connected online people in the world. And this was before COVID-19. So I suspect that even now more than ever, we are spending more time online. Unfortunately, we are also some of the highest targeted people in the world by cyber criminals. So we often rank near the top of phishing targets, phishing scams in terms of the world. And in terms of ransomware, which is when a criminal will infect your computer with malware, able to lock down your system, and then engage you to seek a ransom payment, usually through cryptocurrency, to unlock your system. We are affected by more than 3,000 attacks a day on this front. In this slide, you'll see these are the official statistics that are reported to Statistics Canada each year. So unfortunately, as you see the curve or the graph moving upwards, where in 2018, there were 33,000 cybercrimes reported to police. So again, these are the official statistics. We know we are very confident that this is only a small drop in the bucket in terms of what is really happening out there. I'll also note that Statistics Canada did a survey of businesses to understand their cybersecurity practices and their level of being victimized. And what they found was about 40% of businesses had indicated that they'd been attacked or had a cyber incident, but only about 10% of those reported it to police. This is a global problem. You can see there that the cost of cybercrime is estimated in the trillions of dollars. And a lot of it is fueled by what's available in the dark net. And I'm sure folks are aware of this, but if you're not, this is where everyone, but particularly criminals, can go using encryption software and be very anonymous to engage in certain activities. And one of the activities they do is there are forums there, darknet marketplaces, where you can buy illicit goods, including identities, health records, cybercrime services, malware, to help engage in cybercrime activities. This space is becoming increasingly profitable for criminals. There was a report last week from a company called Trend Micro, and their assessment was that the amount of money being made in the dark net, $1.5 trillion last year, is more than what Apple, Amazon, and Saudi Arabia, which is America, which is the oil company in Saudi Arabia. There's more money being made on the dark net from these dark net marketplaces than those three companies combined. So it is a huge challenge for everyone. So how do we try from a law enforcement perspective? How do we try and contextualize this or define this? So Deputy White mentioned how we divide the space up a little bit into cybercrimes, which are technology as the target, and then cybercrimes, which are technology as the instrument. And you can see examples here on the slide of that. One way of thinking of technology as the target crimes, these are crimes that didn't exist before the internet. Before the internet, you couldn't go and hack into someone's system and steal data, or you couldn't do a distributed denial of service, a DDoS attack. So they are reliant on the cyber infrastructure and networks themselves to do their crimes. The other side, technology as the instrument, these are crimes that largely existed before. So you had fraud or identity theft, but now because of how technology works, cyber criminals are able to engage in these crimes either more frequently or on a broader scale to create more impact. What this causes is a huge challenge for law enforcement. The borderless nature of cybercrime, where you can have multiple victims in different parts of Canada or in other countries. You could have the cyber criminal in another country, and then you can have the data or the evidence that you need to build an investigation in various spots. So it makes it very difficult from all those jurisdictional aspects to start and advance an investigation. And at the same time, you need a very high level of technical understanding to be able to advance investigations. What we're also seeing, and what I touched on a little bit, was what we call now the devolution of cybercrime. At one point, the people who were engaging in cyber attacks were mostly states, so countries. And that's because it required a huge level of technical skill sets. And so they were pretty much the only ones able to engage in cyber attacks. You had the odd elite hacker, but in many cases, it was very difficult to make money at doing this, at least on a broad scale. This was before the advent of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. And so now what we see is this trend from where it was only states or some countries sponsoring a few people or helping a few people engage in cybercrime activity, to some elite groups that were fairly well organized, to now where you have is, because a lot of what I talked about, the darknet, is you can go and acquire what we call cybercrime as service. So you can either go and buy or rent the malware, or you can actually contract out somebody to do the cybercrime service you're looking for. And so what this means is you do not need a lot of technical skills to engage in that type of activity. So what's happened is you have an increase in access to tools and malware, a reduction in the skills to do that. And then on top of that, it's very easy to get away with this. And so you have a high return on investment. And that's led to what we're seeing now is a huge rise in cybercrime. COVID-19. So COVID-19 has had an impact on cybercrime as well. What's happening is cyber criminals are exploiting the nature of how people are working more from home, or that they're more vulnerable, looking for assistance from governments and what have you, to conduct more fraud and cybercrime. There's also been leveraging attacks against health organizations like hospitals or research facilities. So what criminals are very good at doing is adapting their behaviors and finding where they can make the most money or cause the most damage. And so, unfortunately, they're taking advantage of COVID-19 to do that. What will be interesting to see is, will this provide just another impetus for criminals to go more online? If someone was a narcotics dealer who was trying to smuggle drugs into Canada, and because the borders are shut down and there's a lot less air traffic, and they're no longer able to do that, or at least not able to do it to the level they were before, they may be looking for other opportunities or a source of revenue. And unfortunately, they may be looking to cybercrime. So the National Cybercrime Coordination Unit. This is our mandate. We're a new unit, and really our mandate is to work with law enforcement in Canada and in other countries to address cybercrime. We work by coordinating investigations, and this is sharing information between investigators, making sure we're not all going after the same criminal. We work with police services to provide advice if they're just starting up a new team, a new specialized cybercrime team. They can reach out to us for assistance. We also are able to have various sources of information to develop and produce cybercrime intelligence that then investigators can go and action. And then it was also mentioned that we are setting up a new public reporting system so that Canadians and businesses can report and then have very strong analytics and follow-on action can come from that intelligence. And this is what we call the National Cybercrime Solution. I won't go into too much here, but it's enabled by artificial intelligence and machine learning, and also will operate in a cloud environment. So we're looking to leverage the most modern technologies to help us address this issue. This is when I reference the public reporting system. We've done a lot of research to create a new way to do this, make it very user-friendly for the victim. You'll be able to report online using pretty much any device, and do so in a user way. And then when the data comes in, it's connected to strong analysis, stored properly, so that correlations or connections can be made between those reports, and connected to other sources of data to help understand who is behind these crimes, and then have police be able to take action. Partnerships are key to what we do here. So on this slide, you'll see some of our international and police partners. But how we've approached this is in many cases, police are not the experts in the cyber sphere. There are private organizations, academia, non-governmental folks who've been working in this sphere, have access to certain information, are able to see certain things. And so the only way we're going to address cybercrime is do it together and working with all these different groups. Here's another way of some examples of how we partner and collaborate with others. One is at the NC3, we have student placement. So currently we have 4 university and college students. We bring in, they get an RCMP security clearance, and they come and work in areas and basically on the cyber front lines of dealing with this issue. And Henry's going to talk a little bit more about what are some of the sort of skill sets and opportunities in this area. What I'll also highlight just in finishing up is that part of the NC3 approach is to try and tackle or build capabilities to address cybercrime by coming at it a little bit different way. From building a culture, cybercrime is so evolving and it is rapidly changing that what was a technically sophisticated cybercrime only 5 years from now is totally changed now. So what will it be in another 5 years? So we've got to have people who are always looking to be innovative, to adapt, not be comfortable in the status quo, and then an environment and the technology to support them and empower them to always be adapting to keep pace with cybercrime. So with that, I will turn it over to Sergeant Henry to go over and talk a little bit about what we're doing in terms of our workforce and some of the other aspects from his perspectives.
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you very much to Deputy Commissioner Stephen White and Director General Chris Lynham. You have laid down the bricks for me, and it's very easy for me to move forward from the opening remarks and the explanation of what the mandate of NC3 is. So moving forward, whether a computer or a computer network is a target of a cybercrime attack, whether technology is used by criminals, organized or not, sponsored, I believe DG Lynham spoke about when the cyber attack is actually sponsored by another country. The reality is this threat will not go away because it's a byproduct of our advanced use of technology. If we were not on the using the cyber ecosystem, we will not be targeted by criminals in order for them to make money out of it. So basically, this is a reality for today, and it's probably going to be there tomorrow. By definition, the internet has no boundary, hence the importance more than ever of a partnership to fight and defend against a cybercrime. I believe DJ Lynham mentioned about partnership with between law enforcement, the industry, other different level of government, and certainly other countries. This is a multi-level partnership that is required, and we hope that you can see the importance of this as of now. With respect to today's topic, the cybercrime skills for tomorrow, I will attempt to provide you with a strategic overview of the basic requirements, recognizing that technology and skills will continue to evolve at an unprecedented speed, and sometimes it is unpredictable also. For instance, if we were to go back 20 years ago, if we were to talk about machine learning or artificial intelligence, some would have seen this as a wacky conversation. But yet again, we are using those kind of technology today just from a simple customer service with voice reconnaissance when you're calling Rogers and it's a robot who's providing you with services, to the other extreme where we are today facing cyber attack that is completely automated and there's no requirement for a person to be entering key command at the keyboard. So I'm not too sure what age you are, the audience is. If you've seen the movie, either The Matrix or Terminator, where they're talking about Skyline, who was launched, and then Skyline is doing all kind of stuff on its own. Well, today, perhaps a reality. Those cyber attacks happening from a machine, there's no human behind it. So those are the skills for tomorrow. It's not only for tomorrow, but we need those skills today. These basic skills are by no means reserved only to frontline cybercrime investigators. If you are working in that ecosystem, whether you're a judge or you're going to be a lawyer, criminal defense lawyer, crown prosecutor, it is expected that you do have a basic understanding of the jargon and also a conceptual knowledge of those corresponding crimes with the criminal code that we actually have today. So that said, before moving into the basic requirements, I would like to briefly also touch base on the post-secondary education you will have chosen. For instance, we know now that cybercrime is a learning by doing process. And the imperative need for you, if it's not already done, to look at combining your contemporary educational methodology with extracurricular activities. I'm making reference to hackathon challenges, catch the flag challenges, going into some of those gamification platform for you to develop your skills. You're learning how to hack, or not only that, you're also learning how to defend a system, which I will touch base on that. That will also give you those skill set required for reverse engineering. I will present to you basically three skill set, if I can call them this way: the investigative skill set, the technical skill set, and also the analytical skill set. Next slide, please. So, investigative skill set. As an investigator, you are required to have a solid understanding of the legal system. The reason for that is basically you will know where to go and look for information. But one of the questions is, can you acquire this particular information legally? So you need to know when you can obtain certain information and use it freely, or when you are actually required to have a warrant for you to obtain this information so you can move forward with your investigation. Your communication skill set, you need to have a solid one for writing reports or talking to people, presenting information to people from a technical point of view, and then bringing it to a non-technical conversations for the judge or for the court system. So communication skills will be a requirement. I will not go into all of them, but I'm just gonna touch base on some of the main one. Understanding the technology, basically, as you're doing your investigation, you need to know where you will gather information but not only that, you also need to know what type of information you're looking for. This is what we call technological forensic artifact. That's what, when you put all the investigation together, this is what's going to bring the evidence of who committed the crime. So you need to understand what the information is, what the data is telling you, so you can make sense out of it and present that to court. For instance, if you are doing a network investigation and you're capturing packet information, you need to be able to do the interpretation of those logs and present it to a non-technical person so they can understand what exactly took place. Your knowledge and understanding of the nature of various platforms is also a key component here. Whether you're doing a blockchain investigation because you're dealing with a ransomware, you need to understand how the blockchain works. You also need to be able to do a relationship, or show a relationship between the virtual environment and then the current environment, the real life environment with the fiat system. So money is going into this virtual environment, it's coming out in the real financial system, so where to look for certain information. So it is very important as a investigator or a main investigator that you are not stopping from learning basically in the future. If you're doing a fraud investigation, you need to know how fraudsters will do it. For instance, DJ Lynham spoke about the COVID-19 and how criminals are actually taking advantage of it. If you read the paper or if you listen to the news, some people actually manage to get money from the government without having the right to do so. Now we are required to investigate those fraudulent transactions. So how would you do that? So an investigator will have to sit down and look at how the crime happened, and then how they will be able to solve that case. You will need to have a scientific thinking methodology, because problem will show up on your desk and you need to find a solution. When you cannot find a solution, you will need to broaden your network and partner with the industry or academia so they can help you solve the case. Next slide, please. So now moving on to the technical skills. So here we'll be talking a little bit about this one, where dealing with data is not everyone who can understand what the zeros and ones means. So we rely a lot on those people, those who will have those technical skills to be able to do this particular interpretation for us so we can present the information to a non-technical person. So then again, you need to have a basic knowledge of the court system where you can get certain information without a warrant or where you are required to get information with a warrant. Then moving on to the infrastructure of the internet, you need to master that. Knowing exactly where to find the data or how the information is moving from point A to point B, encryption mechanism, key management for dealing with cryptography. You need to know about these things. Machine coding. Should I give you a piece of code and I ask you what exactly is that code doing, then you will be conducting what we call a reverse engineering process. So in order to do that, it's experience and knowing how machine speaks, how coding works, so you can break the case again. The last thing I may present in that particular skill set is your security concept and application is also required here, because you will be the person that we will rely on to build and protect certain systems. So networking platforms, security platform, digital forensics, and operating system, knowing how these different component works together so you can build a better infrastructure and protection for your network. Those are the some of the technical skills. Next slide, please. Now, dealing with analytical skills, this one is quite often a depending on where you're working. For instance, if you are in one of these positions and you're attached to an investigative team versus an intelligence team or versus a technical team, the skill set may be different from what you need to do. For instance, you being tasked to discover how a particular darknet works, so you will have basically to know how different component of that particular market function, so you can draw on paper how somebody will create money, or so how somebody will create a crime from that particular darknet. Now, doing so, you cannot only look at one particular darknet and not knowing about all these other components. So an analyst, what is expected is you need to have a good understanding of the exponential nature of technological convergence, especially in the field of cybersecurity and cyber warfare. Your knowledge cannot be limited. You will be called upon to look for new ways of doing things, discover new threats, going out there basically, and then gather information so you can build a recommendation report for either an investigative team, an intelligence team, and so on. So decision makers can basically make an informed decision. So this is a very important position there. The analytical skills, basically that you will be the eyes of where we're going in the future. Lateral thinker, being capable of listening to other people so you can report findings and conveying technical information to technical people and non-technical people. You will see this is a very challenging position there. So in conclusion, if I may say this, the key point here when we're talking about those three skill set that I presented to you is to know that you are not afraid and you do have a strong ability to adapt and a willingness to keep up to date with the latest technology. This is what's going to take you there, and this is what we're looking for individuals who are not afraid of looking at the future and then take things, break them, and study them so we can find solution for all the challenges. Next slide, please. Good. Lesson learned. So I'm not too sure how am I doing with time here, but if I was to present a case to you, for instance, if you're by yourself and I tell you, well, you have 50 pieces puzzle. I want you to solve that. You have 2 days. Some of you will say, well, that's easy. Now, if I was to increase the number of pieces, saying, okay, now you have a 2,000 pieces puzzle, and I want you to solve it by yourself, not only that, you don't know what the puzzle looks like. Suddenly you see that if I give you only 24 hours, it will be very difficult to tackle that particular problem. Now, if you were to do it in a team of 5, how will you communicate with your partner is another big key component. How are you going to work together between the 5 of you to solve that puzzle that, again, you don't know what the puzzle is supposed to look like. And you have 2,000 pieces. How are you going to divide the workload? So with that, I'm going to present you a case where a government entity was hacked a few years ago. That government entity was also managing a power grid and a computerized water treatment. A bad guy, a hacker, got into the network, took over the network domain controller, and basically compromised the whole network, the whole infrastructure, and zombified that particular network. Again, as an investigator, you're going to look to see where you're going to find evidence so you can find who's behind that crime and how you're going to solve it. We find out quickly that the network logs were sanitized. So therefore, we didn't have any logs to see how it happened, when it happened. We were basically navigating in the dark, and impossible to know where we're going. Again, on top of that, SCADA, I'm not too sure you're familiar with that term, supervisory control and data acquisition system. That's what control valves, open water that's supposed to go into one reservoir versus going to the lake. These things, these components were actually connected to the compromised network, so the bad guys could easily play with them. So there was a requirement to act quickly, and at the same time, we needed to find who was behind that particular crime. The footprints, we started looking for footprints. One analyst person was tasked to look for a particular moniker. What had happened is the hacker left behind one footprint, which was their nickname on that particular compromised network. So an analyst had the task, well, you're going to go on the different forums or on the different dark webs, look for that particular moniker. And off you go. So this person basically was a key component to the investigation. We need to know who that person is and how we're going to connect the dot. That person liaised with technical people. They wrote a script, and the script was basically looking online for that particular moniker, because we cannot expect that a person will be able to do it on their own. So therefore, there was the need to code something for the software to look for it for us. The investigator needed to do an investigative plan to see how we're gonna move fast, who's gonna be doing what also, while we are doing mitigation to rebuild a system that can take over the power grid and the water treatment. So all these things are happening as those are moving puzzle, and sometimes you need to act fast. So those are the skills we will be asking of you. In that particular case, we also needed to build a what we call a honeypot, so we could trace a IP address. The individual was using, as Deputy Commissioner Stephen White mentioned, a VPN, so we couldn't know exactly where they're coming from. So at some point of time, our technical people needed to do something in order to take down the VPN and then go one layer above so we can see who we're dealing with. Another team was actually looking at doing forensic on the operating system. Another team was looking at doing the forensic on the actual network system. And a person was also responsible to write various legal authorization so we can acquire more data elsewhere. This investigation was an investigation between 3 countries. So we mentioned before that this is a partnership ecosystem where we will not be able to do it on our own. We need the collaboration of the industry, and sometimes we need to also share information with different countries. So the key message here really is basically the strong ability to adapt and the willingness to keep yourself up to date with the technology. Don't hesitate to look for those gamification platforms where you will learn certain things. You will develop some of your skills that you require in the future. Those are key things, if I may say, that will bring you to more. And we are very happy to see that you are actually looking to do that right now. This is why you're on this particular platform. And we are very eager to see you enter the market and give us a hand for tomorrow. This will be it for me. Chris, I don't know if you want to conclude for the team. You're on mute.
No, I think. Can folks hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So just to conclude, thank you, Henry. We are the NC3 approaching it from a coordination perspective, from a technical perspective, and from a partnership perspective. So a challenging space to address cybercrime. But we're working very hard. We're still in the stand-up phase, as Deputy White mentioned, and we'll be continuing to grow over the next few years, and be continuing to look for students to be part of the unit, different placement opportunities, whether it's co-op or what have you. So maybe I'll stop there, and we can. I think we've got a little bit of time for questions, so maybe I'll turn it back over to the moderator.
Thank you. If there are any questions, if you could please let us know in the chat and we can unmute you to speak. Or if you want to type out your question in the chat, we have time to take a couple questions.
And if you are on the phone line, you can also ask. Okay, so I think we are good. I don't think there's any questions. If they come up in the next minute or so, we can definitely still ask them. But thank you very, very much to Deputy Commissioner White, to Chris, and to Henry from the RCMP. That was super informative. I learned a lot through that. That was fantastic. Again, and we'll move on to our next speaker. Our next speaker is Christine Beauchamp, Director of Client Engagement and Incident Detection at the Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity in the Security Establishment. Christine has been with CSE since 2005 and has spent most of her career using communications technology to provide foreign intelligence to the Government of Canada. Today, she is here with us to discuss why cybersecurity is important to today's society, threat actors, and CSE's role. Welcome, Christine.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Okay, so just to get started. So hello, everyone. My name is Christine Beauchamp. I am the Director responsible for Client Engagement and Incident Detection at the Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity, which is actually a part of the Communications Security Establishment, or otherwise known as CSE. Today, I want to give you a little bit of a talk as to why cybersecurity is important, and especially in today's landscape. So I'll tell you a little bit about as well what cybersecurity professionals do at CSE to give you a little bit of an idea. But first, on behalf of CSE, I would really like to thank ICTC for having me here today as part of this year's CyberTitan National Finals event. And I'd like to thank all of you, the students who are here, for dedicating your time with the help of your coaches or teachers to actually learning about cybersecurity, because the skills like the ones that you are currently building are needed now more than ever. Just give you an example. I'm not the most gadget-oriented person. No, seriously. Like, I don't really keep up to date with all the latest and the greatest that come out in the technology field. But even I can't live without my phone or my laptop or my tablet or my computer or my work laptop, my smart TV, my Google speakers, my Fitbit, my gaming console, my smart thermostat. Well, you know, the bare essentials, right? So when it comes to technology, well, it contains all our schedules, our address books, all of our messages. And when it comes to contact information, electronic devices, they basically replaced our memories. Just to make it an illustration of that, when I was your age, I used to be really, really proud of the fact that I could retain at least 40 of my friends' telephone numbers. Yeah, how many of you know your friends' phone numbers by heart? That hasn't aged well. Why is it pretty important? Well, it's because our digital technology has evolved and it's become so powerful. Today, as everyday users, you're no stranger to these technologies. So just take your devices, right? Take your projects, your work, your ideas. If you were to pick up any of them, right? So here, it could be your phone, it could be your laptop that you're looking at right now, or it could be any of these devices that you use in your everyday life. Ask yourself for 1 second what a stranger could learn about you if he or she had access to everything on that device. It's scary, huh? And just to make it scarier, these devices, which means that they transmit information at a speed like that my simple mind can't comprehend. And this connection, well, it's essential for communication, right? Because, well, that's how we can stay home and have information, travel for all these distances. So it's very, very important, but it's what opens us up to vulnerabilities. The interconnectedness of all of our devices makes them all vulnerable, and not just your own. Those of everyone around you whose devices communicate to yours over that network. A sophisticated cyber actor will find the weakest point in a network of devices or individuals and really try to steal a person's information. So now that I found you out, I'm actually not going to tell you to ditch your technology. And why is that? Well, because we can't live without it. Because everyone uses the internet. Because in this day and age, we all live and work online. That's true for you, but it's especially true for businesses, organizations, and institutions who can't remain competitive or profitable if they don't have an online presence. Let's just look at shopping these days and how different it is since this pandemic has started. We don't actually go inside stores. So what do? We order everything we need online. Businesses that have no web presence right now are struggling. They're struggling to survive. So they need to be visible and present on the internet. That they need to remain alive is what's going to make them vulnerable to cybercrime and malware. Institutions will often have to pay the cost of cybercrime out of their own profits. But that means that these organizations, they care about cybersecurity because it can cost them money. Sometimes even a lot of money. So while this might not be a problem for like a really, really large corporation, it could mean the end of a smaller business. So right now, you know, we're going pandemic, and unfortunately, the COVID-19 situation, it hasn't brought out the best in everyone. So COVID-19, it has presented cyber criminals and fraudsters, for example, with an effective way to bait victims into clicking on links, open up email attachments, visit fake websites, or even access links through text messages. And that's because cyber criminals and cyber threat actors are actually really smart, and they know how to evolve very quickly with situations, and they know how to prey on people's fears. So they'll send an email. These emails will typically look like they are legitimate emails from a health organization or from the government of Canada. And they will try to get people to click on links to bring them to malicious sites. Cybercrime actors, cyber threat actors, the truth is that they target everyone all the time. They will use phishing as one of their main techniques. Why? Well, because it's cheap. It's easy to do, and it can be cast out to a large number of individuals. And while most of us are going to be smart enough to not get caught, a few will. And just those few victims are enough to make cybercrime a profitable business. Canadians need to be aware of this, right? So we all need to know that the threat is real, that it is happening, and that, right now, COVID-19 emails, for example, and these fake websites are actually fraud. And this is even more important because right now, organizations and Canadians are more vulnerable during a crisis. Just because we're all stressed out and we're emotional, we don't always use, the most rational part of our brains to criticize the information that we see, but also because we don't have the same robust IT support system that we usually have. People are trying to do what they can, from home, and organizations aren't doing their normal cyber hygiene, right? Because they're just trying to keep the systems working. So all of us at home right now are doing our best to stay safe online. And so the threats, they're everywhere, and we're our own cybersecurity specialists. We're working in kitchens, and we have to scrutinize and question everything we see online all the time. Where does it stop? Well, if we can take down malicious domains and email addresses, we'll be able to protect online users. That is why CSC and its Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity, we're working in coordination with industry partners to take action against malicious cyber actors and fraudulent sites before they can take advantage of Canadians. And through this, hundreds of malicious sites, including fake sites that pretend to be the Public Health Agency or the Canada Revenue Agency. At CSC, we're always for cyber threats that may be directed against Canada or Canadians. And that's because Canadians rely on the internet for so many things to get their news, their critical information, they'll get their work done, to get money from the government. Therefore, Canadians need to trust that the official Government of Canada sites and information and communications are legitimate, and CSC is taking action to help ensure that they can. Wouldn't it be nice if we could all go online and never have to worry about criminals and cyber threat actors trying to steal our money, our identities, or our information? Well, that's what cybersecurity is. It's the constant pursuit to secure our information systems, the data on them, and the services that they provide. It's about protecting systems that all Canadians rely on, whether these be healthcare, banking, telecommunications, energy, transportation. It's about protecting businesses big and small, about securing our future. Guys.
Hi, Christine. Are you there?
I seem to have been disconnected.
Yeah, I think you're back now.
All right. Okay. So that's okay. I was wrapping it up.
Continue on.
Can you still hear me?
We can, yes.
All right. Good. So just to let you know that at CSC, we have various cybersecurity professionals, and they have a number of roles as they detect, they prevent, they respond to, and they recover from cyber incidents and threats in all types of organizations, whether they be in the Government of Canada or even in some critical infrastructure organizations. Some of our professionals' roles include producing cyber threat assessments, working as data scientists or modeling big data, monitoring the Government of Canada systems for compromises, where we actually see over 1 billion attempts per day. They work sometimes as information security analysts, vulnerability assessment analysts, or penetration testers. And if you were to get, for example, a co-op position at CSC through your post-secondary education program, you could actually get firsthand experience in a number of the roles I've just mentioned. just fields. So for people who study engineering or computer science, security through those means. But to remain cyber secure, organizations need staff that have knowledge that go beyond just computers. So there's a need for cybersecurity professionals that actually specialize in business, in law, in statistics, in social or political sciences, and just to name a few. In fact, even knowing a foreign language can help you get a job in cyber intelligence. That's actually how I got into cybersecurity. So I was first recruited because I had studied foreign languages and I had a background in sociology. I was hired to understand the threat actors, their motivations and their plans. And it's only once I actually started working at CSC that I was trained on how the internet works. If I could go back and do it all over again, I probably would have taken more computer science classes, but I'm a really big believer that to be really effective, cybersecurity needs a diversity of skills, talents, and you will have heard this already, but the number of jobs for cybersecurity
Christine, I think we lost you again.
2021.
Oh, no, you're good. Right.
Oh, no.
If you want to redo that stat, that would be fantastic.
Hi, Harry.
Still there, Steve? Keep cutting in and out, unfortunately. You're good for a couple minutes, and then I can see you again. Yes. The job stat was where we lost you.
Oh,
you're
are that it's estimated that there will be 3.5 million vacancies in cybersecurity around the world by 2021. So essentially, my message to you is that there's never been a more important time to pursue studies in cybersecurity. So if you're passionate about the topic and you want a career in that field, you're okay. There are many options out there for you. So with this, I'm going to wish you the best of luck as you wait for the final results of the competition. Just so you know, simply by being here today, you're actually light years ahead of where many of today's top cybersecurity experts were at your age. So keep it up. If you have any questions, though, I'd be happy to take them.
If anyone has any
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
If anyone has any questions, they can just let us know by using the chat function. Or if you'd like to type out your question, you can do that as well. So we have a question here for you, Christine, from the chat saying, what kind of jobs are available for entry-level students regarding cybersecurity?
Well, the first thing that you'll want to do, unfortunately, the jobs are not posted right now because we are under some technical difficulties with this current COVID pandemic, but you can go check them all out on our CSC website. So if you go to the Communication Security Establishment, and you look under the sites, you will see all the entry-level positions that are actually posted there. Some of our main groups where we're actually looking for cybersecurity experts are often in this position that we call cybersecurity operations analysts. And these are individuals that will study what is happening on the network and be able to find compromises, mostly on the Government of Canada infrastructure, but we are expanding more now to offer this service a little bit beyond the Government of Canada, as we are now the Cyber Centre for Canada. And so what happens essentially is a series of tests, and we like to have people who are well-rounded, who can think, who can analyze multiple pieces of a puzzle, and then see that in a bigger picture. But all of those jobs, they are usually up online and they can be checked out on the website.
Another question here from the chat. Christine, is what minimum level of education do you require for an entry-level position?
So we used to have a minimum level of education requirement. We've actually moved a lot away from that, where we're actually trying to look more at potential to analyze and at skills more than the actual level of education. So while we're not actually looking at specific degrees or goals, as in like, bachelor's or let's say college degrees, we are encouraging people to really think outside the box and be able to pass these exams that we have. So the exams are not dependent on your school knowledge. They're very much more dependent on your ability to think. That said, however, to be really good in cybersecurity, having some formal training will really go a long way into providing you a foundation to being marketable and to being hireable. And I would say that it starts mostly, at least at a college degree level. So depending on your school, and some school programs are really, really geared on cybersecurity specifically.
Christine, are you there? Can you hear us? We lost you there for a second at the end.
Yes. Oh, no. Not sure why.
But we have another.
Can you still hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now, and we've got another question for you.
Okay, good.
So there's another one on how should we prepare for a job in cybersecurity?
There are a variety of ways, right? You can find networks of individuals that are already in cybersecurity. You can follow people who work in cybersecurity, like on social media, for example, see what they do, get a little bit of a sense as to what's happening. There are announcements for jobs regularly. The other thing is, if you can get into some sort of co-op program with your college or university, if that's what you're studying in, there are a lot of organizations that are looking for bright students and help them through that process. So it's a very growing field, and it's worth asking questions, finding people who work in the field and kind of talking to them and getting ideas as to where to apply. But there's no shortage of places to get that kind of information.
Great. And another question here for you is, a large portion of cyber threats come from people who lack the understanding of how today's internet works, which results in compromises. Forward, how do you think awareness should be raised in order to educate the general public of these threats?
So that's a good question, because your technology can be really, really strong. And at the end of the day, simple human gets your organization or yourself into some trouble, right? Getting a lot more cognizant of the threats online, but there's still a lot of work to do in that respect. So I find that cybersecurity professionals, whether they be with CSC or they be with other organizations, are actually really, really engaged in putting forward that awareness, putting forward that information. If you were to go, for example, on the website for the Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity, you'll find a number of articles, publications, blogs really out there to educate, to make that awareness stronger. Lots of very, very good information out there, can be shared with anyone. It's made so that it is used as an education tool. There's also a lot of training that exists, a lot of courses, and people don't have to be IT specialists to take that kind of training and get the baseline understanding of the threats and how to stay safe from that. The other thing that we like to insist upon is this security by layers, right? So you can know a lot of things, but there can always be that other thing that you won't know about. So you don't want to put all of your security into a single element. And we try very, very much in our awareness as well with the Cyber Center to let people know that, put it on multiple layers. That way you can always have a backup when one of those don't work as well.
Do we have any more questions from anyone in the audience? You can let us know in the chat. You can ask your question out loud if you'd like. If you're on the phone or on the live stream, you can type it in the live chat.
So there was one other question that was on the chat asking if they think of any questions later or a way that they can contact you. I know potentially we could do it through our system if you would prefer that route, or if you had any thoughts on that.
It might be easier if there are additional questions later on in the next couple of days, for example, and if anything sparks your interest, if you could maybe just collate them all together and you could send to our organization, either to me or through our communications contact, and we could try to put something together and write out, some answers for you.
That's fantastic. So we can take that on. So if there are any other questions, just send them to me. I'm pretty sure everyone who competed has my email. I'm not going to put it again, so I think everyone knows. But I will send a note to all the teams to say that if there is anything else, I'll send them my way. And we're just giving a couple more seconds to see if there's any more questions. I think we might be nearing the end for that. Awesome. Okay. So while I'm saying my thank you, if there's any more that pop in, we'll address that. But so thank you very, very much, Christine. That was fantastic.
It was my pleasure.
That was insight into what's currently happening. It was nice to bring in the COVID element. I really enjoyed that part. On another note, we would also like to send a huge thank you to CSE for being our platinum sponsor for this year and for last year's competition. We really could not have done it without you. We appreciate you more than you guys will ever know. So thank you very much for that again. We look forward to future fun and joint and whatever else may come. And then, so on this note, we are going to take our break. We will be back at 2:35 Eastern. So I can't do math. That's a little over, let's say, 15 minutes, give take. So yes, we will have a live stream of some, or a video of stuff to go through, but you do have 10, 15 minutes to get a drink, and then we will be back for the speaker. Thank you very much for everyone, and see you all soon.
CyberTitan is presented by the Information and Communications Technology Council, ICTC. We'll be back after a short break at 2:35 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll be resuming at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time with Durham College.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. Hope that break was nice. Hope you enjoyed our music. Enjoyed being on the beach a little in some of those clips, which was nice. So I'm here to welcome our next group. So our next group is from the Center of Cybersecurity Innovation at Durham College. This center opened this past February and is the college's fourth applied research center. They're here to talk a little bit more about that and then some other things. So I'd like to welcome Dr. Ruba Al-Amari, a professor in the Computer Systems Program, Chris Gillis, the manager of the Applied Research Business Development, and Durham College's lead for the Autonomous Vehicles Innovation Network project, and Ali Hirji, project manager, AI Hub, and lead in the Cyber Exchange Advisory. So thank you to all three of you. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
Asia, can you hear us all okay? The sound check's all good to go?
Fantastic.
Yep.
So we've got until 3 o'clock, correct? Fantastic. So I'm going to start off sharing the screen, and if you can let me know if you can see it, and then we're in action. Give me 1 second. Okay. Am I allowed to share from an application, because it's suddenly not allowing me to share an application screen, only a browser screen? Okay. I will continue without it and then pass on to Ruba, has her own slide, so we'll just get started with it. It should be allowing me to share from an application, but that's fine. So I'll get started. My name is Ali Hirji, as Sheena had just said. Thank you, Sheena, for that lovely interview. So I get to work at different centers at our college, the AI Hub, as well as the Center for Cybersecurity Innovation. And I want to take the next 2 minutes talking about my colleagues who you really want to hear from and why you want to be hearing from them. So as Sheena mentioned, we have Dr. Ruba Al-Omari, who is a certified CISO, full-time professor in our program, and leads a whole bunch of projects with us in cybersecurity. You really want to hear from her about what is it that we can teach you from a cybersecurity perspective, and how is it that you can apply some of these learnings in the workforce. You're then going to hear from the amazing Chris Gillis. And you heard that he's our lead on autonomous vehicles. How can you take some of your knowledge to study how could an autonomous vehicle get hacked? How could somebody take control of an autonomous vehicle? And better yet, how can you protect an autonomous vehicle? What is an autonomous vehicle? How does it work? Chris will be talking to you about all of that, as well as the opportunities that you can get if you come to Durham College. I'm going to take 2 more minutes to talk to you about why this session is so damn important for me. There are 2 reasons for it. So a couple of days ago, I was talking to my nephew, who's about 9 years old. And I was telling him about, we have the CyberTitans coming up, and previously I had participated in the Global Cyber Olympics, which we hosted at Durham College. And he asked me, he's like, how is it that if you play some games that you could find a job? How does a game translate into a job opportunity? Shouldn't getting a job be about going to school and learning and studying? And I corrected him there by telling him that these games allow you to look at different scenarios and environments where something might happen from a cybersecurity perspective. What do I mean by that? Have you ever wondered why many companies, when they shut down, well, we're talking before Corona, when they shut down for the day, they have security passes in order for somebody to go into the office. About 3 months ago, a story came out that a lot of cleaners who were working overnight, who had access to these offices, were being used by bad actors to steal information through USB sticks, through little sticky notes hiding around in people's desks. All of that was being used to get data and information about companies for bad actors to get into those systems. So you start to realize that there's so many different places where cybersecurity could apply. Think about it this way. About 3 weeks ago, I did a webinar session with Danny Bahar, who's a well-known cybersecurity expert, and he was talking to me about how home devices can be hacked. And he gave me a beautiful example where he talked about a smart fridge, which I happen to have and love in my home. What happens with a smart fridge is that it has sensors in it. So you can count how many times somebody opens the fridge door and how many times they close it. Hackers are interested in that information because that can tell you how often somebody is at home and when. And the minute you know that they're not at home, that's the time that you could initiate an attack, be it a physical attack, let alone a cybersecurity attack. So the field is diverse and there's so much for you to do. And Durham College has various test beds where you can learn and experience how these hacks happen and how you can protect against these hacks. So enough about me and about my perspective. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Ruba Al-Omari, and she's going to take you on a journey of what you can learn by joining us at Durham College. Dr. Ruba, over to you.
Thank you so much, Ali. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session with Durham College. I am very pleased to be here with my colleagues to talk to you about some of the IT programs that we offer at Durham College. So give me a minute, please, to share my screen. Can you see my screen? Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is now.
All right. Yeah, so it's perfect. Thank you. So first, before I start with the information from our programs, I want to say congratulations to all of you, the
top 10 teams. You made it to the finals out of 203 teams, and that's a big deal. So congratulations. You should all be proud of yourself for this achievement. And I want to make a special shout out to all the 13 girls out of the 57 students who are participating in this competition. Well done, girls, and especially also to the all-girls team, the Olympians Pink from Oldescona High School in Alberta. Well done to every one of you in this competition. And good luck for your results tomorrow. So yesterday and for 6 continuous hours, you have experienced a day in the life of an information security professional. You've done some threat hunting. You spent your day in identification and remediation of indicators of threats. You were asked also to submit digital evidence and take care of other issues that might arise and require the attention of an information security professional. Not only, finding vulnerabilities, patching them, making sure the system is up to date, hardening the operating system. You were also tasked with tickets that come to a service desk. Maybe a user needs a password reset, or maybe they suspect they have a malware infection. These are requests that come to the information security professional and need their attention other than their day-to-day vulnerability management. So at this point, you might be considering to pursue your education and a career in cybersecurity. And today I will be answering a couple of questions we receive frequently, such as what do cybersecurity degrees teach? And I will also be talking about what IT programs do we offer in Durham College. And I'll end up with some tips and advice that I hope you will find useful. All right, so what does colleges and university teach in cybersecurity degrees? Cybersecurity discipline is relatively a young discipline. So colleges and universities are still trying to figure out the best way to deliver the material and the best content, the best program of study, plan of study, and curricula to deliver. So based on the different institutions, you will find the curricula of the program different. However, there are general topics that all cybersecurity degrees offer. Mainly the attack and defense. Attack and defense are usually referred to as offensive security and defensive security, and these are the core and the heart of cybersecurity. So cybersecurity degrees focus a lot on these 2 topics. Other topics are programming, networking fundamentals, computer system components, cryptography, as well as information security design principles. And one topic that you will find generally in all cybersecurity degrees is a course or 2 that address laws and ethics in IT management, specifically in computer forensics and the collection and maintenance of digital evidence and its admissibility to the court. So law and ethics usually also has a couple of courses in a cybersecurity degree. So these are in general, no matter what institute, generally they cover these topics. Now, when we come to Durham College, we do offer a number of programs in IT and in cybersecurity. So our IT stream has 2 main tracks. The first track focuses on computer systems and networking, and students who enroll in a computer system networking track, they graduate to become a system administrator or a network administrator or a computer technician. Whereas our second track focuses on computer programming, and our students who graduate from our second track become system developers and computer programmers. And we have a graduate certificate in cybersecurity. Now, when students come to join, they are interested in the IT, they want to join a program, they're not sure. Are they into network administration and data communication or computer programming? So usually they don't know. And it's okay. At 18 years old, you're not supposed to have figured out your whole life ahead. So that's why at Durham College, we have the Computer Foundation year, where all the IT streams are enrolled in one area, and they get a taste of both worlds. Let me explain this a bit more. So our first year is 2 semesters, semester 1 and 2. Students take courses in computer programming. They take courses in data communication, operating systems, hardware. They do develop basic skills and fundamental knowledge in computer systems. And based on that, at the end of the first year, they are able to tell if they would like to go through the computer programming track or computer systems. So at the end of the first year, you end with it's a certificate in Computer Foundation, and based on your interest, you will be either joining our first track, which is Computer Systems Technician, and that's semesters 3 and 4. You will be getting more advanced in, data communication, networking, operating system administration, both Linux and Windows, and hardware. At the end of your second year, you can graduate with a diploma. And for the computer systems, we also have a bridging program that you can bridge into Ontario Tech University for their IT and network security bachelor degree. If you decide to go into the second track, into programming, you will go your second year, that's semester 3 and 4, into computer programmer diploma. By the end of the second year, you get your diploma into computer programming. Now, for your third year, in the first track, you go into computer systems technology, where you have your capstone project, your field placement, and some advanced topics in network administration. And by the end of the third year, you have an advanced diploma. And we have a co-op option for our third year students in the computer systems technology track. If you go into programming, you go into your third year into computer programmer analysis. That's semesters 5 and 6, building on your second and first year. And you graduate with an advanced diploma, and there's a co-op option available in that track as well. Now, by the end of your third year, you become eligible to apply into our cybersecurity graduate certificate. I'll get into more details in the certificate. I just wanted to mention that both of our tracks are heavy on hands-on and experiential learning, so lots of work in the lab and real-life examples. Now I'll come to my favorite topic, cybersecurity graduate certificate. So at Durham College, we do offer this certificate, and our main focus is for our students to first identify the business assets that need protection, that are critical to the line of business. And then we teach them how to put safeguards and controls in place to protect these assets, and then come back and measure the effectiveness of these safeguards and these controls. Are they doing what they were designed to do? Do they need changes? Do they need any changes? In the cybersecurity certificate, we also focus a lot on vulnerability management and the threat hunting and patching your systems, hardening your operating systems, putting measures in place to secure your system, much like what you do in CyberTitan, except for it's definitely more advanced. So in our cybersecurity graduate certificate, we have 2 approaches to cover security. So we do the cybersecurity in breadth, and that is when we cover the 7 layers of the Open Interconnected System, or the OSI. So I teach in the cybersecurity certificate. I'll give you one example. I teach hacking and exploits. And so I teach my students attack and defense techniques to cover data link, network, session, and application layers. So we go through the 7 layers through different courses, but the course I teach specifically targets these layers. So I teach them attacks like SQL injection, buffer overflow, man in the middle, session hijacking, cross-site scripting, all kinds of attacks, DHCP starvation, DNS spoofing. It's a long list. Dirty cow, one of the favorite attacks for my students. And it just happened, if the name is dirty cow, there is no cow and there's no milk in the attack. But we do cover attacks, and it's all hands-on. So students actually perform the attack. And then we learn methods how to put controls in place to protect against anybody who's trying to exploit our system through these vulnerabilities that will allow them to exploit a buffer overflow or a SQL injection. Our second strategy that we teach, our second security strategy that we teach is called Defense in Depth. And this is where we teach our students to secure data at different points in the network. So we teach them about securing data, application, network, endpoint, and up to the perimeter of the network. So we cover both strategies across number of courses, and the courses, there are a sample of the courses that we teach that you can see on the screen. Now, the admission requirements for our cybersecurity certificate is a 3 years diploma, which you could have finished either the computer system track or computer programmer track. Also, a degree in computer science or IT-related field will make you eligible to our graduate certificate. Career options. We get asked this question: what kind of career do I get into after I finish this degree? So basically, most of our students become an information security administrator. And there are also a few other career options. We teach a lot of courses that expose the students to different career paths. So we do a computer forensic course, and some students do take that career path to become a computer forensic investigator. We do IT auditing. Some students find great interest in it, and they pursue a career path of becoming an IT auditor. We do hacking and exploits and pen testing. So some students pursue a career of becoming a pen tester. But generally, it's an information security administrator. Some also start at network administration and system administration. Where could you work? Where in this field? So any organization that has an IT department, which is majority of medium to large organizations, they do have their own IT department. This is a place that is an option for you to work at. Some examples are hospitals, banks, accounting firms, colleges and universities, IT security firms. These are all options or places that hire people with these credentials. These are the programs that we offer in Durham College that are related to the IT stream and the cybersecurity. And I wanted to end my slides with some tips that I hope you will find useful. First thing is learn to code. It's a very useful skill to have, programming. Not only in programming, but in life in general. It teaches you computer logic. It teaches you thinking skills, troubleshooting skills, problem-solving skills. It's a very useful skill to have, not only to automate tasks through the code you write, but also in general. In life in general, it helps even the way you think and approach problems. My second advice to you is to keep participating in hacking and capture the flag competitions. They are so much fun, and they give you a taste of what the field is about, what the real information security practitioner can be doing. My last advice is find a subject that interests you and learn as much as you can about it. So the internet is full of resources, and if there's a topic that interests you, go ahead, learn as much as you can. You can end either by loving it and thinking, you know what, this is something that really interests me. I want to pursue this, whether it's a hobby, education, career. I want to learn more about this. Or you can end up saying, you know what, this is not my thing. I don't want to be into this field. And either way, it's a very helpful thing for you to decide into your next steps. So this brings me to the end of my part. I will be happy to take your questions at the end, but for now, I will pass it to my colleague, Chris.
Okay. Thanks, Dr. Amari. And Ali, did you have anything you want to say in between, or just hop on it?
No, why don't you just go for it? You know what, I'll stop sharing my screen. Okay. Go ahead.
Yep. Okay. So thanks, Ali, and thanks, Dr. Murray. Just I want to say a couple of quick things about the applied research that's happening at Durham College, and I think the autonomous vehicles is actually a great example of some of the projects that are going to be going on in some of the project areas where students have an opportunity to participate. And I think probably as most people at this session know, that there's been quite a number in recent years of high-profile carjackings. I think most, high profile was started in 2015 where they took the Jeep down on the highway and then did around the variety of the functions through the infotainment system. And that was a planned, a white hat attack. But really since then, through 2016, hacking we know has exploded. And certainly by 2018, most of the major car makers really have been in the news with different vulnerabilities. And the last numbers I have for 2019 is there were 176 cyber attacks recorded aimed at vehicles, up from 78 the year before. So that's quite an increase, over doubling. And over half of those were actually black hat attempts. And a lot of them are looking at the keyless entry fobs, certainly through the trucking, compromising different fleet services, and a lot of infrastructure connectivity there. And certainly this is going to be around for a long time to come. When we hit 2020 rather, we know that basically the great majority of vehicles manufactured in North America are really connected to the internet. And so that really opens up a whole other raft of vulnerabilities. And I can't say for sure what types of projects you might work on when you come to Durham College. But, the one thing I would say is if you're familiar with the Disney Pixar movie, Wall-E and the Fitless Humans, I'm going to say watch that from a cybersecurity point of view, and just think of all the attack vectors and areas of vulnerabilities. It's large in that. So Ali, maybe I'll just hand it back to you, and if you want to talk about anything or we can handle any questions.
I saw 2 questions come in, so I'll just take them, and then we can wrap up with our communication details. So the first question that came in was from Victoria, I believe, and that was a question around, so what are some of the threats that are facing autonomous vehicles, and how can these threats be protected against? So I can take a quick stab at it, looking at some of the work we've been doing at the Center for Cyber. So to give you 2 examples, one is sensor spamming, for example, or sensor spoofing. And this is an example when sensors are activated in a particular way, when they're not actually supposed to be activated that way. Another example is DDoS attacks. So as you know, vehicles are outfitted with a whole bunch of communication protocols. Hitting them constantly could cause those communication protocols to fail. So in terms of what's in there right now in autonomous vehicles, there's a lot of research that is required. There is quite a bit of research going on in B2B communications in order to prevent those kind of DDoS attacks. But another thing is the ability to put cars in lockdown mode. This is also something that is still to be perfected, but these are some of the areas. And that's why it's so cool to get into this field, because you can just as well imagine that once you know that a car has been hacked, you are then able to put it into lockdown mode. And how do you effectively do that? would be a challenge of some of our white hat teams, perhaps. The other question that I got directly on Twitter was, how do you get in touch with you guys? Our communications details are on Twitter. You can find us on Twitter, on Instagram as well. And I'm sure the organizers can share with you all of our handles. We're pretty easy to reach out to if you have any of questions. Furthermore, if you're interested in participating in more discussions, we do hold a series of webinars and tech talks, which you'd be more than welcome to attend. I do want to close with one statement, though, given that we have a couple of seconds, is at Durham College, we also do quite a few of these competitions. We've just done Global Cyber Olympics. We participate in a number of high-end cybersecurity conferences, which have competitions as a part of it. We were at the Cyber Exchange recently, where they did have a virtual red team, blue team environment. And in August, they're also doing another environment, which we'll be a part of. So lots of different ways in which you can participate and get hands-on experience. That's pretty much about it from us. Ruba and Chris, anything else that you want to add?
Actually, the only thing, Ali, just to close off, is if you think of the Apollo 11, and it was reported that the lines of code, 145,000, and a modern car today, 100 million. So lots of room there for work.
100%. Ruba, anything from you? Closing comments?
Just, it was a pleasure having the opportunity to present our program, and good luck for everyone in the results.
Likewise. So good luck, everybody. Keep in touch, and we'll be following your progress as we go along. Sheena, over to you. Take care.
Take care.
Thank you very much. That was fantastic. All three of you. I really enjoyed the examples, particularly the real life ones. They seemed a little more deep dive into what you generally hear in terms of cybersecurity. So that was fantastic. Thank you very much. I'd also like to thank Durham College for being a gold level partner of ours for this year. So again, very much appreciated for that. And you guys were perfectly timed, so that's excellent as well. So we're going to move on to our next speaker. So our next group is an exciting panel that we have from IBM. I'm going to introduce Heather Rasciuto, the Academic Outreach Leader. Heather is a global leader of IBM Security's Academic Outreach Program, driving to address skills gap through education. So I'd like to welcome Heather, and I'm going to leave it to you to introduce the rest of your team, because I know you have 4 people with you. Thank you very much.
Yes, well, thank you, Sheena. Let me make sure that they are all here. Adam, Victoria, Dustin, and Jenny.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Adam.
Good. Can you hear Jenny?
Yes, ma'am.
And Victoria?
Fantastic. Great. And Dustin, last but not least, are you out there? Okay, looks like we're missing Dustin, but in the interest of, and hopefully,
I think he's around.
Okay.
That might be on our end. Can you let Evil Mog speak, Adam? Because it wouldn't have been labeled Dustin. It's labeled Evil Mog, so that might have been us to stop him from speaking.
Yeah, sorry, I'm here.
There he is. All right. Okay. So, and we'll get to the root of the handle Evil Mog shortly. So, hello everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to join you today to learn a little bit about some careers in cybersecurity, particularly careers at IBM. IBM is a company of nearly 400,000 employees around the world. Roughly 9,500 of those are working in our security business unit. I'm joined by 4 of my colleagues here today. You heard their names already, but I'll just repeat. We've got Adam, Dustin, aka Evil Mog, Jenny, and Victoria. So what I'd like to do is begin by just asking each of them to briefly introduce themselves and explain very quickly what you currently are doing in your roles at IBM before we get into a quick lightning round of questioning. Adam, I'll start with you.
Perfect. Hi, guys. My name is Adam Frank. I am the CTO of Security Intelligence within IBM. So That title is basically Chief Technology Officer. Some people would jokingly say it's the Chief Traveling Officer. So with COVID, my travel has drastically reduced, but primarily I spend my time helping guide our development teams and researchers to produce solutions to basically catch malicious actors within our networks. And then kind of my side hustle would be helping our sales team sell the product and going actually on site with our users and helping advise them on how to secure how to deploy our products and helping them resolve their problems.
Thanks, Adam. Dustin?
All right, so I'm Dustin Haywood, otherwise known in the industry as Evil Mog. I've had that handle for ages. I'm known on the Hashcat project as the cluster development manager for all the clustering code. At X-Force Red, I am a senior managing consultant. So the majority of my job, I do research and development and then hand off knowledge to our operational penetration testing teams who then break into our clients using everything from cars to airplanes to aircraft, IoT, SCADA, you name it, we break into it. But I'm basically one of the pass or cracking specialists over at X-Force Red.
Excellent. Thanks, Dustin. And Jenny, and by the way, I'm going in alphabetical order. So just so you know how I'm selecting the order
go by
is
favoritism.
just by alphabet. No favoritism
Okay,
at all.
it's not favoritism. Oh, okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Jenny, and I am a Scrum Master lead at IBM, a slightly different title than everyone else's. I recently moved into my role, but something that I've been doing for a while. But in my job, I help customers kind of convert their requirements into something that we can actually develop. So I also organized several teams under me. I don't manage them, but I do my best to help them get their work done a little bit more efficiently and remove blockers. So that's most of my job.
Thanks, Jenny. And Sheena, I actually just posted a question asking you, do we have pics and bios of each of the panelists here so that the audience doesn't have to stare at my picture and bio the entire time? There we go. All right. So there's Adam. And if we can, let's move on to Victoria.
All right. Thanks, Heather. Can you hear me?
Yes, thanks.
Okay. Can you hear me, Heather?
Yes, Vic.
Okay, perfect. So, hi, everyone. My name is Victoria Odemi, and I'm a pre-sales cybersecurity architect at IBM. In my role as a pre-sales security architect, I help different organizations all over North America and the Caribbean to put together technology-based security solutions to help them secure their private data, their network, web and mobile applications, and their endpoints, being the laptop, servers, ATM, and ABM machines. So basically, I'm keeping them secure from the bad guys. So Evil Mog and Adam, they also help with the pre-sales. They help deliver whatever I sell. So essentially, I'm selling whatever they put out there security-wise. So that's essentially my role at IBM.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Okay, so clear as mud, right? We have, as you can tell, we have a lot of different roles to be played at IBM, and that applies to cybersecurity roles. So let me now ask each of you, how did you get into cybersecurity? What was your path? Because I can tell you that everyone has a different path into cybersecurity. So wondering if any of you have an interesting story to tell as to how you ended up here.
Sure, I'll start off if you want. Actually, Adam, yours is probably better.
Everyone's gonna
go.
Victoria, go. Victoria.
Okay. So my path into cybersecurity was 100% a fluke. I had been working as a software developer for 6 years, and I was helping IBM develop web applications for one of our e-commerce platforms. And I wanted to move into a pre-sales role so that I can get closer to the client, get closer to their to the business issues that they encountering daily. So that's how I, was looking for pre-sales roles. And when they saw my background, being from software development background, they're like, okay, we want you in our pre-sales application security and endpoint security role. And that's how I landed into cybersecurity. And since then, I haven't looked back. And that's my story into cybersecurity. It took me 6 years, but I made it.
Okay, thank you. So, Adam.
Yeah, so my story is very similar, I think. So I started as a software developer coming out of school. I basically went through a program that got me into software development, so actual coding. And then I went through a couple jobs where I was just doing normal network coding, back-end coding, working on a really exciting system that made the labels for like film canisters in libraries. So if you ever went to the libraries, they have film canisters. We made the labels for those. It was very exciting. Ultimately, I ended up through some connections getting a job at a company called Q1 Labs out of Fredericton. So this was a small startup company. Kind of took a bit of a chance on. So I was the third developer at that company, and that's when I learned, we make this thing called cybersecurity, or we're making a security product, because cybersecurity was really in its infancy. And basically switched into a full-time cybersecurity job by virtue of living it. So started as doing development with the product, then kind of following some of Victoria's line there, I wanted to see how the customers were using the product and actually get out interacting with customers as opposed to just coding all day. And that's really what got me into the practice of exercising cybersecurity, because now I was in front of customers and really being asked to help guide them on their journey to securing their network. And back then, we're talking like early 2000s, cybersecurity was very new. Nothing was encrypted, nothing was secure, everything was basically wide open. So it was a very interesting time.
Evil Mog. I'm sure you have an interesting story.
Well, oddly enough, mine's very similar to Adam's. I did not start off as a hacker. I didn't even start off in security, nor do I even have a degree. I did 6 months of schooling at SAIT to become a network technician. Somehow signed on for a contract that wound me up in Afghanistan, hooking up satellite dishes, getting shot at, hooking up communications so soldiers could call their families back home. Had a vehicle flip on me over there, got ejected from country when my company was like, you're too much of a risk. Somehow got a job via a job transfer agreement we had with a government-owned bank in their security program. Started off as a SOC analyst, did all my self-directed learning to become a hacker, and then about 3 years ago shifted over to X-Force Red after leading the financial institutions Red team.
I told you, I knew your story would be interesting, and I'm going to come back to your comment about SAIT or your educational background in a moment. But first, I want to go over to Jenny to let her tell her story about how she ended up working in cybersecurity.
Sure, thanks, Heather. So for me, actually, I ended up in cybersecurity, or in general the tech sector, by accident. So out of high school, I did not take any previous coding or anything logic-based stuff in school. I did my maths, my sciences, and I actually wanted to be a marine biologist. And then I wanted to be a medical laboratory technician, and it was the list went on and on. And my brother decided that he wanted to check out the computer science department at an orientation day at University of Brunswick. So my parents made me go, and I found this degree called Bachelor of Information Systems, which is half computer science and half business. So not really knowing what I wanted to do with myself, I said, let's do that. Because any way I go in my life later on, those skills are going to be useful to me. And so I went into it and I did the whole thing. So definitely some late nights. I wish I did some programming at all in high school moments. For some of my assignments, but you don't need to have that programming in school. So lucky for you guys that you can do CyberTitan and be able to actually practice some of this stuff. Didn't even know how to fix a printer, or really, I just used Microsoft Word. Anyway, that's all I knew how to use. And I didn't own a laptop until my first year university. So that's a fun little tidbit. And it was a very old laptop.
So, well, I won't even tell you what I went to university with Jenny. It wasn't a laptop, I'll tell you that much. So the point of telling, the audience all of these stories is really to demonstrate that everybody working in cybersecurity today comes from a different path, different educational backgrounds. Some started coding when they were really young. Others never experience coding till university or even beyond university. So, I always say there's a place for everyone in cybersecurity, and it really is true. And you will hear many people working in the industry today say that they ended up here accidentally, and that's partly because there weren't cybersecurity specific programs in schools until recent years. So many of us have backgrounds in computer science or business degrees and the like. So, Jenny, let me ask you, given your background, which is actually kind of similar to my own, do you think you have to be deeply technical to work in cybersecurity?
That's a really good question, Heather. And the answer is no. Fun fact for all of you that may not have known. So deeply technical is a word that is... everyone kind of has their own interpretation of it. So if you know something really, really well, I guess you could say you're deeply technical in it. But in most cases, we, and my colleagues can also say the same thing, we're learning as we go. Most of our work is researching how things work, if that makes sense. A lot of Googling, a lot of reading, and you literally learn as you go. And you can't just rely on previous experiences. You have to just be always, looking up the newest thing. You just have to keep up with it. And so being deeply technical in something, yes, would help a lot, but definitely it's not going to put you forward that much. So the answer is no, you don't have to be deeply technical.
Now, I would argue it does depend on your role, though, right? And
yes,
and I would expect the rest of you to hopefully agree with that.
Here's the thing: being deeply technical can honestly be a detriment at times. I've had people who've been the most deeply technical people in the world. They swear this is the way things operate in production, and then when something new rolls out that changes that, they have a problem learning. The thing is, if you don't learn every single day on the job, you're not doing your job.
Yeah.
I think that's the big key.
A passion for continuous learning, right, is really important.
Right. It's knowing how to learn, I think, is the big key. As Jenny kind of keyed on as well, knowing how to research things, how to Google things, right? It's funny, one of the key words we would often use, and I'm giving, I guess, the trade secret, when we're interviewing people, which was a new experience for me as well in the last few years, actually interviewing people to come work for us. If somewhere in that interview they never mentioned the fact that they would look something up, in Google or DuckDuckGo or something like that, then they're missing a big gold star kind of thing that's available to them, because it's very important, I think, from a skill perspective, to recognize what you don't know and how to go find that information and be able to apply it. So that's I think the most critical skill, is actually being able to apply knowledge that you can learn very quickly.
Yeah, I would agree. So, going back to, I think, Adam, you and Evilmog both alluded to the fact that neither of you have a university degree. So I just wanted to touch on that because, obviously post-secondary education absolutely has its place. I myself have two degrees, so there are many of us who have multiple degrees in the industry, and others who came from completely, different backgrounds, whether it's, self-training, certifications, boot camps, you name it. So can you both kind of touch on how, there are roles, there are entry points into the industry for folks who either can't afford to go on to post-secondary education right out of high school, or they just don't even have, they don't have the desire to go to a higher ed institution, but they have the desire to learn and work and contribute.
Right. And I think, you're spot on. Myself, in full disclosure, whatever, I have a 2-year diploma from a computer programming specialization school. It's since been absorbed into the community college program, but it was very focused on basically programming and math. So you take a university program, strip back all the electives, and you're left with the program I went through. What I found very interesting with that program is when compared to people I knew who were in third and fourth year university, I was doing the same projects they were doing in third and fourth year in my first year, because it was very specialized, right? We were learning coding, and we were popping out the other end being very good little programmers. Now, of course, there's some rounding that I missed out on perhaps a little bit in terms of my writing's not necessarily the best. But those are skills I've been able to apply and learn later in life as opposed to having them up front. So in terms of an entry point, it was a much lower cost of entry. It put me into the workforce much faster. So I was in the workforce basically at age 20 as opposed to 22, 23, which is the age of most of the university graduates I was working with. And when you're 20, there's quite a difference between a 20-year-old and a 22-year-old. Now that I'm a little further along in life, it seems quaint to think of 2 years as a big difference. But basically, there's lots of entry points. And the other exciting thing which we've seen develop over the last, I'd say, 6 or 7 years is seeing programs similar to what I took with programming, which was a specialized 2-year program for programming, being applied to cybersecurity. So I just joined at the end of Durham College. I believe they offer a program. Algonquin here in Ottawa offers a program which are very specialized in basically training you in cybersecurity and getting you into the real world very quickly to apply that knowledge and start doing that on-the-job learning, which is really, it's the stuff they don't teach you in school, right? Your first few years in the workforce are really a lot of, oh, they didn't teach us that, oh, they didn't teach us that, and you're really learning all those things on the job. So it's very exciting to see all those new opportunities and avenues to the career path showing up. Do you have anything to add, Dustin?
Yeah, the biggest thing I want people to be aware of, especially when they get into large enterprise environments, you are not going to learn everything in school, no matter what. You're going to think like you're going to hit the ground, and your first day when you have an enterprise MIO outage or a major change control or all the weird stuff that happens in large enterprise, it's going to throw you in your back. Just don't let it throw you. This happens to everybody, whether you've gone through school or not, and that's a large portion to the deep cybersecurity learning curve that's in there. Nobody is ever fully prepared and fresh out of school. Likewise, people without degrees or people with degrees, you still have to deal with the same challenges. I'm going through to go do a degree myself right now part-time so I can go catch up my English and all the things I missed out on. But, oh boy, I can sub that in my sleep.
Right. So, I mean, again, I think the point is everybody starts in a different place. Everybody has a different path, but it doesn't, to quote an IBM report that I had the pleasure of being a part of writing a few years ago. The title was "It's not where you start, it's how you finish." And I think that really kind of sums up what we've been talking about here. I want to talk a bit about the CyberTitan program and whether any of you had access to programs like CyberTitan when you were in school, and how relevant do you think they are to to learning the cybersecurity skills that particularly hands-on skills and communication skills and collaboration skills that are needed in cybersecurity? Victoria, I see you nodding your head. You have something to contribute here?
Yeah. I mean, Evil Mug was so excited and he had his hands up, but CyberTitan is so important. I haven't started my post-secondary education here in Canada. Adam, you were one of the few ones to get a programming gig after college. I didn't, so I went on to university. We didn't have any cybersecurity focused programs even in colleges back in the day. So this CyberTitan program is very important and relevant because it places you ahead of your peers. It gives you the hands-on experience to jumpstart your career in cybersecurity. Like Evil Mug mentioned that even after you, let's say, I think it was Adam that mentioned in college, he had hands-on experience of programming, whereas someone in university, even after fourth year, they still can't write past Hello World. So this CyberTitan is giving you the hands-on experience that you need to jumpstart even anyone with a degree coming from software engineering, that not from a cybersecurity tailored program.
Yeah, so the reason why I'm excited about this is I was actually banned from my entire high school network for all of Computer Science 30 because I was playing around with some sysadmin's Novell network because he left something open. And so I had to go write my entire program by hand, and I still got 95%. Like pencil and paper, manual syntax checking. Like, we had none of this stuff. And kids get curious. The fact that you have the ability to properly channel and learn now before you even leave high school, that's amazing. This is when your brains are the most elastic. This is when you can learn the most. Like, I wish I was 18 again so I could pick up some of these more obscure languages like Rust, because trying to pick these up when you're in your mid-30s is one of the hardest things. So I'm so glad you guys have this program.
And I'll tell you, when you're in your mid-30s, it's a lot easier than where I am right now. If I think back to high school and CyberTitans, our computers weren't networked in high school. So we had basically 20 standalone machines. Half were DOS, half were Mac, probably version 6. And we were basically doing typing class on them. So I think programs like this are wildly important. And beyond the moving into a career with cybersecurity, just having this knowledge helps enable you to survive in the world in the kind of a secure by default mode, questioning the emails that show up, understanding just how data can flow and process and where vulnerabilities are within systems. It's very important. I see it with my daughter. She's a lot younger than the audience here. She's only 7 right now, but just her willingness to share things online, right? Where does that information go? What are the impacts of having that? The fact that you filled out a quiz or a survey on Facebook that gave your birthday, for example. Well, now as a hacker, I can utilize that information to attempt to reset your passwords or something like that. They're just little examples of thinking secure by default. And I think programs like this really help inject that in society as a whole.
And sorry, just to add on to that, Adam. Sorry, Heather. Having a program like this, learning how to code, you can basically tell them how much you want to make. You can call you can say it gets you start making money quicker. Like, yeah, they can't go, oh, I'm going to pay you $5. You're not worth $5. You're worth $10. So because you have little projects you worked on from this age, so it sets you ahead of your peers, basically. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, I can tell you that when I review resumes, I'm not just looking at academic scores, right? I am looking at all the extracurricular things that the candidate has participated in, whether that's competitions, speaking at conferences, volunteering in any capacity, holding down a part-time job while going to school, et cetera, because that tells me a lot about the person, right?
Well, and more to that, like, even when you get into the professional world, X-Force Red doesn't hire people based off your schooling or your degrees or your certificates or any of that. We hire you based off your extracurricular activities, your research capabilities, and your speaking engagements. If you don't do any of those, you're not getting into XFR. It's just the way we work, and most pen test shops operate the same way.
So speaking of pen test jobs, I'm not seeing any questions in the chat, so I'm going to continue with that one for you, Dustin. What is the day in a life of a pen tester like?
Google. So basically, I'll start up in the day, I'll check in my average, here's what I'm engaged on. We work on general 2-week engagements. So I'll wake up, I'll check my intelligence from the overnight scanning, because we'll leave the automated stuff for overnight. Look for any holes in data. Google anything that looks weird, like an odd service, because nothing actually shows up in the VA scanners. So I'm looking at, hey, what's this particular signature mean? Then I go and I browse through change logs, trying to find keywords. Is there a bug for this? Go ping a buddy on Twitter, see if anyone has an exploit. If they don't, go start searching Stack Overflow for dumb programmer questions for this particular thing. Go, oh, look, here's this particular code they stole. Test it in a test lab and then move on. It's really a lot of Googling and a lot of Stack Overflow.
Is it exciting? Do you find it exciting?
Oh, I love every day. Like, every day is a new challenge. Every day is a new target, a new system. Like, I could be hacking a car one day, I could be hacking into a Windows network the next, and then who knows, I'm hacking someone's CPAP machine like the day after. So it's just every day, especially at IBM, it's a new challenge because we have clients that span the entire globe. So if I want to go work on an airplane one day, I ping, hey, go put me on an airplane gig. All of a sudden, I'm now hacking into an airplane. Like, I never thought I'd get paid to go do this.
Right. And of course, we have to remind everybody this is all, this is all ethical hacking and with the permission of the client, of course. And on XFR, I mean, we have people who specialize in various aspects of penetration testing, right? So whether that's ATMs or automotive or I don't know, medical devices, perhaps?
Yeah, we are largely a team of specialists. Every single person we hire is for a very specialist skill group. We do have an early professional program where we are hiring, but those people we're hiring out have been presenting as subject level experts for the last 3 years while they're going to school. And so we snag them up immediately. And like some of our interns have been featured in Wired, Forbes, places like that. It's crazy.
Yeah. And many of the interns have been hired out from they've participated in the collegiate penetration testing competition, right? Which, by the way, we are working on bringing to Canada. So more, keep your ears open for that. And that's a community college and university level competition. Let's see. Do we have any questions from the audience, Sheena?
I see one in there, and I'd actually like to answer it if possible.
Okay, go for it.
Good. So the question was, we constantly see security breaches in various companies and government organizations. What happens to people responsible for security when a breach happens? Do they get fired or more people are hired? So that one's actually interesting, and we were having a discussion on LinkedIn about this last year.
And this comes from a coach, I believe, right? Sheena? Yeah. Valentine is one of the coaches?
Yes, that's correct. A few teams.
Perfect. So we were having a discussion about this on LinkedIn last year, and the consensus amongst a bunch of us was, if you get hacked and you make a mistake, that is some of the most expensive training you can receive. So realistically, it comes down to, was the breach due to negligence, in which case, fine, you deal with that, or was it just simple bad training, a systemic issue? So we found that dealing with the systemic issues and then keeping the people who had the breach but educating them, like that's you have a $4 million breach, that's $4 million training. Why would you throw that away?
That's a fair point.
That's just one opinion from the LinkedIn piece.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that, Dustin. It's highly variable in that depending on if it was negligence or if it was oversight or systemic issues, it's really going to have a lot of variance on what happens. So you'll see in some of the really high profile, like say banking breaches, often like someone like CISO will often step down. But that really comes down to just how did the bad guys get in? What did they take? What was the individual accountability in that? Right? Was it, hey, I was the guy in charge of cutting the budget that sacked the entire SOC. That's a career limiting maneuver right there.
But if you're the analyst who forgot to click a button because some systemic process forgot to have you a checkbox, like it's not necessarily your fault when you're on the ground. I'm not going to say don't take it personally, but sometimes you're going to be in a situation like the Kobayashi Maru where you can't win. So it's critical to identify when you could have changed something and then fix it. But if you can't, there's no point in getting rid of the guy who can't, who's just clicking the button. But he learned an experience, so hopefully it doesn't happen in the company going forward.
All right. So I think we only have about a minute left, right, Sheena?
Yes. Yeah. We have one more question, though, so we can do that one if you want, and then we'll wrap it up. So in the chat, I can read. Okay.
Do you prefer reverse engineering binaries or running fuzzy knowledge base scanners in the hope of finding an issue? I'm going to be honest, a large portion of issues we find aren't from running a scanner or even from running a fuzzer. For exploit development, absolutely, a fuzzer is going to be your ideal. But let's look at Windows Active Directory. I do a lot of living off the land without touching any kind of vulnerability tools because they get flagged by antivirus utilities. So we use a lot of things like go query LDAP directly and use our knowledge to go find an attack path, or use built-in system administration tools to take on a system. So the answer is to this, tooling is highly situation dependent. Depends if you're trying to reverse engineer a car, trying to break into Windows Active Directory, if you're trying to go build an exploit for an application. Every tool and every subspecialty within cybersecurity has their own specific workflows.
All right. Thank you for answering that question. So I think we're out of time, but I want to wrap up quickly by asking each of the panelists what single piece of advice would you give, if you could go back, if you had a time machine and you could go back to middle school or high school, what advice would you give yourself? Dustin, you go, since I see your face up on the screen.
Sure. Learn C, C++, as well as some sort of scripting language, and keep up with that language as the language trends change. Your programming experience will save you so much hassle in the corporate world. It's not even funny, no matter where you end up. Thank you. Adam?
So I wouldn't buy that brown car I bought when I was 17. It was terrible. But I would also encourage you to become comfortable rolling with the punches, if you will. So setbacks aren't always setbacks. Keep enthusiasm up for the tasks you're involved in. Enthusiasm can make up for a lot of other failings, just being interested and motivated in the problem. So definitely learn to roll with the punches.
I've even heard one of our hiring managers say he hires for passion. So there you go. How about Victoria?
I would just echo Evil Mug. Learn Python. I wouldn't say C++. Python is the language of today, even in the finance world. Get your hands on as many projects as you can, and volunteer. Make sure you're not just focusing on your heads down on the computer. Like for me, I DJ when I'm not working, and that's a very big part of my life. So find something you love and still code on the side or your main job. Yeah.
Thank you. And Jenny?
For me, it would be, don't be afraid to try new things. Something that I always struggled with in high school was being different, and I always wanted to blend in with all my friends and what they did. And it left no room for my interests. So definitely get brave sooner, if that makes sense.
All right. Thank you very much. I want to thank the ICTC team, the CyberTitan team, our audience, and all of our panelists. And my final piece of advice would be to keep participating in programs like CyberTitan throughout the rest of your life. Thank you, everyone.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks,
that
everyone.
was fantastic. Good job, everyone. That was a lot of personal anecdotal. I can't speak anymore. That was fantastic. Good job.
Thank you.
I'd also like to thank them for being our gold level partner. They've been our gold level partner, or they've been a partner with CyberTitan since we started. So thank you for continuing to partner with us for this great cause.
It is our pleasure. You can count on us.
Thank you. Much
Thank you.
appreciated. Now, our last group of speakers comes from Sophos. Drummond Wilson, Senior Manager of Technical Support at Sophos, and his team will focus on thriving in a customer service-oriented cybersecurity environment. I'm going to let Drummond introduce his team. Welcome, and thank you.
All right, thanks, Sheena. Well, thanks for having us here today. This is our first time actually being a sponsor. It's first time speaking here, so we're kind of excited. I'll be honest, on a selfish note, since we're based here in Ottawa, my office, we're disappointed that it's all virtual. But, next year, there is next year. So, what I do is I've got a few of my colleagues with me. I've got one of our HR business partners, and she works here closely in Ottawa, and a couple of my network security engineers. So what I'd like to do is maybe I'll introduce myself and give you a bit of background on myself so you understand where I'm coming from, and then I'll let them introduce themselves. And then I'll go into a little bit of a history on, just Sophos, what we do, and speak to some of our values. And I listened to some of the previous panel, and a lot of what they said, I'll be honest, it's 100% accurate. It's I think it was the Evil Mog said, things like research skills, Google, writing, business communication, applied knowledge. Those are key elements that you need. And, we'll talk a little bit about how that works here from my perspective and our perspective when it comes to, I'll say live telephone and, electronic support for, our cybersecurity products. Bear with me here. Let's see if we make sure I get this, get the right screen here. Let me know when you can see the the screen.
We can see it now.
All right, let me just go full screen. Can you still see it? My screen just blacked out.
It's black on our end as far as I can tell.
All right then. Wow. Okay. Well, presentations sometimes work and sometimes they don't work. Let me try that again. It's always a fun part of doing something live. Can you see anything yet?
No.
Just black? All right. Okay. Well, I'm not sure if you guys have ever experienced this before, but I will go through my presentation, I guess just sort of virtually, if that's all right, Sheena.
Right now. Yeah, if you want to email it to me right now, we can try to pull it up while you start speaking, if that's an option.
It is an option. Give me a second. Bear with me. I'm just going to close my camera. I'll email it right to you, Sheena. So my apologies. You know what? The problem might be actually my system. The joys of working from home when your IT is in Vancouver.
I will take this opportunity while we have a break to thank Sophos. Come back on this here. To thank Sophos for being our team partner. So they came on with us this year to sponsor one of our teams. So they ended up sponsoring our all-girls team based in Alberta, so Team Pink. So I just wanted to send a big thank you. I might as well do that now to Sophos for your support this year. It's been awesome.
Great. Well, we're happy to do that this year. All right, I emailed it to you, Sheena. Maybe while we're waiting, I'll start off with myself. So Drummond Wills, I'm the senior manager in technical support here based in Ottawa, Canada. I've been in the support gig for over 20 years, and my career in support actually started at a commercial software company. Some of you may or may not have heard of it. It's called Corel. I worked almost 13 years at Corel in a variety of different roles, and my first role was on the front line, taking live telephone calls, and we actually didn't do email support at the time, but live telephone calls, and I learned an awful lot there. I worked my way through the ranks, and I took over managing one of the enterprise level support teams. Again, for WordPerfect, it's an older product. I don't think really many people use it anymore, but there. And then I took over a global operations role, so the systems and tools with respect to how support is delivered. Following there, I changed from a consumer software company and I moved to an enterprise level software company in the cybersecurity field, a company called Entrust, which was a very, I'll say, an eye-opening experience for me. And, it taught you actually what goes on in the background, all the stuff that's going on around you that you're not even fully aware of what's going around, from an encryption and a security, identity management, etc. So for me, that was my first foray into dealing with the enterprise level customers, different from consumers, different set of parameters. But I learned an awful lot. Again, I had to learn because my background, which I'll get to in a minute, is not in computers, and it's not even computer science. So anyway, I managed some of the PKI support teams and the identity management teams. And then I oversaw the entire support organization at Entrust. I was there for about 5 years, and then I went to a small startup called Silent Circle, which did encrypted telephone calls, file transfers, point-to-point, that was not traceable or, hackable by the NSA. And from there, actually, I joined Sophos in 2016. And I joined the office here as they were only 1 year into setting up a support center. And our office has grown from where we are now at about 65 individuals from when I started, when I only had 20 individuals, including myself. Our primary place, that I hire from typically is fresh out of school, either local college or from universities. And we have a wide variety of individuals in the office. I do deliver live technical support by telephone. We do email support. We do community-based support and live chat. But I'll get into those details a little bit more. I don't want to talk too much. But the final part is, just so everybody knows, my background is I've got a degree from the University of New Brunswick, and it was a combined degree between forest management and civil engineering. And you ask how I got into this? Well, the dot-com boom in Ottawa back in the early 90s kind of attracted me. So I went and took some retraining at a very targeted college that gave me some skills on networking. And that's how I ended up working in computers. Anyway, I'll pass it over now to Amy Morales. She's our senior HR business partner in support, and let her have a few words.
Hi, everyone. I don't know. Can you hear me, Sheena? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So we're happy to be here. Just I've been with the company since last year, and when I heard about this fantastic program, I was really excited to sell it to our team, to the management team here, because this is really something our company believes in training the young, as well as, of course, given that it is the field that we're in, and as well as trying to pick as well the all-girls team, because we also believe in diversity in our company. And so we're happy to support the Team Pink, hello, if you're there, and the rest of the program as well. So that's me. Thank you, Drummond.
All right, thanks, Amy. And introduce Frez Abraxia. He joined us just a little over a year ago, and I'll let him give a brief background, where he's come from, his education, and Frez.
I'll also say, Drummond, your camera's still off, just so you know.
Oh, sorry. That's my fault. Can you see it now?
Yeah, we can see you, Drummond.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, Frez, go ahead.
Frez?
All right. You may be having some technical difficulties. Anyway, so Frez, he joined.
Yeah,
Frez,
we can hear you now. We can hear you.
Yeah.
All right.
Hello, everyone.
Yep.
So my background is communication electronics engineering. I studied that for 5 years. Then after that, I start working my career in IT as IT specialist with technical support, basically Windows servers and work printers and scanners, direct support with customers. Then after that, I jumped between lots of roles. One of them is senior administrator and for system administrator as well. I dealt with multiple software and applications. My passion was to work with security, because basically the domain, I think me, was the cloud, security and AI. But I choose security because based on my background as in networking and my experience, I thought security will be the good choice for me. And I joined Sophos since a year ago, and I worked on other brands as well. So I have, let's say, and I'm working on my skills in ethical brief. Hello?
Hey, Frez. I think we're having some technical challenges. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes. Frez did cut out there, but I can
Okay.
hear you now.
Okay. All right, Frez, we'll come back to you at the Q&A session. And so we're the last member that's joining us today is Ambika Sharma. She also joined us about a year ago. Ambika, you want to give a quick rundown on your background?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Ambika. Can everyone hear me properly?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so hi, my name is Ambika, and I'm working as a network security engineer from almost like a year now. And it is a really nice experience to work there. It's like a firewall company, as you all know. My everyday challenge is to work on a firewall. There are different appliances for Sophos, so I work on all those appliances. I worked, this is my second job, but before that, I work as a network analyst, where it is like mostly it was about all the products. But like here as a network security engineer, I basically focus on the firewall, and that is like quite exciting. So yeah, that's all for me right now. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Ambika.
All right, thanks, Ambika. All right, Sheena, we can go on to the next slide if that's all right. All right, so just want to give you a bit of a snapshot of Sophos, as a company. Well, obviously, but 35 years old. It was founded in Oxford, UK, selling antivirus software at trade shows those many years ago. We're about between $700 and $800 million in billings each year. Approximately just over 3,000 employees globally, and in 51 different offices. We have more than 300,000 customers. Actually, we're probably closer to 400,000 or 500,000 now. And we're 100 million plus users in 150 different countries around the world. Our business is very channel focused, so that's sort of so we don't sell direct. So we use partners, who sell to their end customers and deliver services either through a managed solution provider or managed security solutions provider. And that's how we, drive our business. And it poses some challenges from a support perspective, but it also provides a really unique learning experience. We have partners that are mom and pop shop, as I call them, 3 or 4 people working in there, and they have a few, maybe a few dozen customers, to partners that have 60 or 70 employees, and they have hundreds of customers. And those customers themselves have hundreds of employees amongst themselves. So we get into the enterprise as well. Sophos Labs, so a threat research facility. So in the picture here, that's where the main lab facility is. So we have a variety of locations where there's a labs research facility, and that's in Oxford, UK, that's in Vancouver, and there's also one in India. And that's what we use to sample all the spam that comes in, all the viruses that come in, all the ransomware, malware that gets detected each and every day. We have a sample submission process, and that's analyzed. And it's anywhere from about 600,000-700,000 samples each day. And we use that to analyze threats and trends, and that updates our product offerings that we have both at the network side, on the firewall side, in our email products, and also in our endpoint solutions. We're providing security against those threats from the bad guys that we all know are out there, which you're all learning how to stay one step ahead. It is a challenge. I'm sure you've heard that from a lot of your panelists today, but trying to stay one step ahead is probably the biggest challenge any company will ever have. And it's not just having one product, it's being aware of your products, it's education of your users, and it's a multi-layer level of security in order to try and protect yourself against that, because it can be costly. Companies that, for example, get ransomware, it might cost them $10, $15 million a day for lost productivity if they're a large organization. The small shop, the fellow might be losing his job because he missed something. Hopefully it's going to be used as a learning experience, but in some cases, if it is through negligence, they're under a lot of pressure when they call you. But anyway, at a snapshot, that's Sophos. I'll cover a little bit more. Sheena, next slide. So how did we get to where we are, starting with the two founders, and it was through acquisition. I'm not going to read each and every one of these because I know we're a little short, we're short on time, but excuse me, each of these acquisitions brought a new piece of technology, right, from a security side, and they were all brought into, I'll say the Sophos umbrella, and as we move through the years, and in the last decade, we moved more to the next generation products, and all this technology is coming up under one umbrella, which is our Sophos Central platform, which is our SaaS offering, which will give you the the endpoint and the network's security, all the way, all controlled within a single view. So you can control this all as an administrator. You can manage your threats. You can manage your alerts. You can manage your endpoint devices. You can isolate them, and depending on what features that you license, you can protect yourself against almost every piece of ransomware that's out there. Nothing's 100% guaranteed, but there's some artificial intelligence in some of the products that will detect the patterns and block the potential threat. Sheena, go next slide. All right. So so just to give you a slide, just to show you the number of companies that do use our technology, and you'll see it's quite a broad range, and some of them are small, some of them are in U.S. government workspaces, and some of them are quite large. Hilton, WPP, you probably don't know them, but they're a large conglomerate. They have about 180,000 users of our software. But this is giving an example of how broad of a customer base that we actually protect. Sheena, next slide, please. And so from a global site perspective, so you can see we're well spread out around the globe. So we have main offices in each and every one of these places that's listed here, up to including Buenos Aires, Sao Paulo, and then here in North America. We'll go on to the next one, please, Sheena. Sorry. So this is fresh off the presses from yesterday. So this is our mission statement, going forward. So it's, we protect people from cybercrime by developing powerful and intuitive products and services that provide the world's most effective cybersecurity for organizations of any size. And this drives everything in the company. So, supports only a portion of the organization, and this feeds into our own mission statement. But from the mission statement, it sets obviously what our goals are as a company. And then the key part of meeting those goals comes down to our values. Sheena, can you go to the next slide, please? So these are the core values that all Sophos employees, strive for, right? So simplicity, empowerment, passion, innovation, authenticity. That curiosity, it's going to be good for you, right? We want to keep it simple. As an organization, we're there to, support you and, develop you. Innovation is the key, to staying ahead, I'll say one step ahead of the bad guys. And then again, being authentic, right, is, being upfront and honest with everybody. And that drives that overall customer experience and builds the value in the partnerships that we develop with our partners and our customers. Sheena, go to the next slide, please. So from that, so we have our own mission statement within support. Our mission is to be the best in the world at delivering simple, innovative, and highly effective cybersecurity solutions to IT professionals and the channel that serves them. And so there's a strategy. That's how we fit in from a company, but also from the support perspective. I'm not going to read all of them. You can read them all. And Sheena, you're welcome to share this afterwards. So from that, we have our own support services team values. And these are really, really key to how we deliver our services. I heard in some of the earlier presentations about teamwork, and that's really what we're all about. I'll speak specifically just in the Ottawa office. One of the aspects I like is we actually are extremely diverse, and that diversity actually brings us strength. Out of the entire office, there's about 20 different countries represented. So it's really, really important, and we work so well together from both the network security engineers and the endpoint security engineers. Humility. We want to be fast and efficient. We need to be decent human beings. Treat each other with respect. Treat customers and partners with respect. And it's a tough thing. But, trying to keep a sense of humor. Most people don't sit there and decide to call up to support or email support when they're having a great day. They have a problem. So, listening intently and, just amongst ourselves, trying to have a little bit of humor each and every day, because there are sometimes some funny things that do happen on the support side. I'll share one today that I saw earlier today. That was someone raised a case because the CAPTCHA was asking them to identify all the pictures of a cat, and he thought it was an error in the product. So those little ones there, it brings a little bit of humor, to some tough questions once in a while. So from a support perspective, so we offer localized support, like a lot of organizations, and they're usually smaller, smaller sites, and they're, we in Japan, Italy, France, Spain, Germany, and we also have some localized support through one of our partners down in Buenos Aires that delivers Portuguese and Spanish. Outside of that, we offer the typical follow the sun support model. So we have major centers around the globe, so that all our support people, for the most part, they really work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. So there's no overnight work. There's no late night call-ins. There's no there's no weekend work, because we have shifts that do the weekend in daytime hours. But if I started in the UK, so we have in Oxford, UK, and Cork, Ireland, and then we have Ottawa, we have Vancouver, and then out of that we have Manila, Sydney, Australia, and then we have some operations at our own facility in India as well. So it provides us around-the-clock coverage, for our customers, because the bad guys are always trying to get in 24/7. Right. Now, from traditional support channels, I'll say live telephone, live chat, email case. The last one, community, right? And that's a big one for us. You can appreciate a 35-year-old company. Sometimes it's a little hard to move to some of the, the less contact modes of support, and that's community, right? That's contactless support, contactless support. So we're moving towards a level 0 type of support. That's what we call it. So there's, level 0, which is no touch. Level 1, which is going to be your live telephone, email. Level 2, which is an escalator support, and a level 3 would typically be, right before your development team. The level 0 is definitely the way of the future. Most of the up and coming demographic, they don't want a phone. They want to find their answers online. They want to search Google. They want to go to community. They want to go to Twitter. They're looking for videos on how to do things, right? So developing that content and promoting that content and developing those community is key to our strategy going forward to deliver that world-class customer experience. And each and every one of our engineers actually plays a role in that. That live telephone call, it could generate a knowledge-based article. It could generate a video. It could generate additional updates to documentations. So that plays a key role going forward as well. Same with the email channel and the live chat. Sheena, go to the next slide, please. So a career in technical support engineering, in cybersecurity is, It's challenging, it's rewarding, exciting. It's all about discovery, and it's satisfying. The graphic you see here is, Sofa Central. I talked to you about our next gen platform. It ties in the firewall and the endpoint and all the components into what we call a synchronized security model. Research skills, applied knowledge, writing and business communications, being a good, decent human being, a team player, these are going to pay off for you in the long run. The individuals that we hire, I will be honest, I've got one individual in the office. He took a 2-year targeted diploma at Algonquin College, and I've hired him. He's 20 years old. I have a number of people who have gone to, Carleton University, Ottawa University, and universities for some of their home countries, and they've got masters, in computer science as well. I have other individuals that have gone to a local college and taken a network security professionals course. So very targeted set of skills, and they've come from backgrounds prior to that were nothing at all related to cybersecurity, but they had an interest in computers, and then so they learned a targeted set of skills. And again, it's all those attributes, right? A team player, that willingness, that desire to learn, being a decent human being, willing to share, team player. Those are attributes that will follow you all through your career, and they're key elements when we hire someone. Because I like to look at it, we hire the person, and you can train the rest. It's easy to validate someone's technical skills, but it's the person you want. And you want that person, and those with talent and potential, you can typically see those within 5 or 10 minutes during an interview, and they will thrive. Individuals that come in to the organization, they don't always stay in support. As they advance their career, they'll move up into the different levels. They can also become, very specialized technical account managers. They could become system engineers or solution engineers, supporting the sales team. Recently had one individual who moved over to our security operations center, so our SOC, as an advanced threat research analyst. And these are just, he learned that from the skills that he got from doing technical support. And some additional training, and just his desire to be curious. So there are roles that come out of support. You take, hundreds of calls a month. You probably take 100 calls a month. You learn something on each and every one of those that you can apply to any job in, network security at any company, but you learn them fast. The individual that bought your product and didn't know how to deploy it, you're going to help them troubleshoot that and get it deployed. The person that's encountering an error, the person that's encountering ransomware, you'll guide them as to how to solve that and coach them along the way. These are skills you can learn in tech support, which are applicable to jobs anywhere. Had an individual recently left, and he went to KPMG as a security analyst auditor. So he's taking his skills and he's applying that at a more business level. Anyway, so that's just a tech support, perspective, being very conscious of time. I know we're getting short. I'll leave that to questions and answers now to any one of us four. I'm happy to answer your questions.
Perfect. Thank you. So yes, if anyone has any questions, you can use the chat box to let us know or to type the question. If anyone is on the phone, if you want to ask your question, feel free. And yeah, we'll wait.
I'm still worried about the Team Pink member that was talking about having a Glock in the desert.
I enjoyed that a lot too.
There were some funny answers. I like those.
Are they done with all their work, Sheena?
They did. Yesterday, it went really, really well. And tomorrow we will find out who wins. So we're right in the middle of it, more or less. The hard part's over and the fun part's still to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
For
There's
anyone who
now is a
doesn't
waiting,
know-
right?
Yes, exactly. Waiting game. And then for anyone who doesn't know context-wise, we did do profiles on all of our teams. They are on the ICPC website under the news section. And one of the questions was, what would you bring with you on a desert island?
Yeah. It was in the video,
Okay.
right, that you shared.
Yeah. Yes. So I'm thinking we don't have any questions. I'm just going to throw it to the team to see if there's any on the live stream video at all, and then I will let you know.
All right.
Sheena, there's no way for me to see who else is joining. Like I can't view. No. Okay. And tomorrow because I didn't get to see the. No, it's okay. Yeah, go ahead with your question.
Right.
No, the live stream.
No, it doesn't seem like we have any questions. Yep, no, we don't have any actually. So everyone, that was all encompassing that you guys are great and everyone is good. So I think I'll just wrap it up here. Yeah, Sherman, did you have something? No.
Yeah, I was going to say, if anybody has a question, my email address is there. Feel free to share that. I'm happy to answer any questions. And I'm looking forward to maybe, getting some time tomorrow to watch the live stream while I'm working.
Yes.
Excellent. Perfect. All right. Well, thank you to you and your team, everyone at Sophos. That's excellent. It was nice to learn a bit more about the company itself. So that was great. I also want to send a giant thank you to everyone who spoke today, to all of our supporters and all of our partners. As most of you are aware, CyberTitan is fully sponsorship driven. So everyone's commitment means everything to the program itself. So here's the next year, and thank you to everyone so far. For everyone who spoke today, sorry. And it was also kind of neat, a lot of different speakers, a lot of different variety. So I think it'll be neat for our CyberTitans to see what could be potential for them in the future, be it jobs, be it companies, be it career paths, or how people got into it. So it was a lot of interesting information today. And then to wrap up today's event, tomorrow we will be live streaming, or we will be on at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Tomorrow we will have some opening remarks by the Minister of National Defense. We have a couple more guest speakers throughout the day, and then around 2:25, 2:30 range, we will start all of the awards. So our CyberTitan National Champion will be Ground Champion, and so will 2 and 3 and Defender. So lots more to come tomorrow. So thank you everyone who attended today, and hope to see you all tomorrow.
Yeah. Thank you, Sheena. Thank you,
You're
everyone.
welcome. Thank you, Sheena. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye. Good luck. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.